I will call this meeting to an order. We do have a quorum. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Look for a motion to approve the agenda as amended. All in favor of approving the agenda, say aye. Any opposed? All right, the agenda is accepted. At this time, we'll have patron comments. Any school district patron may present information to the board at this time. Presentations will be limited to no more than 5 minutes. The board will not take action on any issue not included on the published agenda. However, all comments will be taken into consideration by the Board of Education. Patrons are requested not to discuss individual faculty, staff, or students. Patrons are reminded that this is a public forum and comments relative to individuals could result in litigation. However, any patron may request to meet with the board in executive session. No response will be given by the board at this time. And there was no one on the list. Does anybody wish to speak? All right, just for the record and clarification, we will be moving patron comments to the workshop after the next business meeting, after the 18th of September. We'll just start doing patron comments at the workshop just so that we give the patrons a chance to interact before we take action on items, and we can actually listen to what they have to say before we talk about the items. So that is the move as to why it's being put on the workshop.
Is that reflected in policy as part, like, is that something we need to update, or is that just practice with the way that we hold our agenda?
That's just how we do the agenda. We just have to have a time where patrons can comment. So we're just moving that time.
And I agree with the decision, but was that
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 was-
just decided upon and?
Yeah, that was just between Brad and I. We talked about it.
Okay.
All right. That will take us to reports. We'll start with the Student Services Program Evaluation.
Yeah, we welcome Dr. Carrie Reich, Director of Student Services. She's delivering a program evaluation that includes programs for homeless students, programs for migrant students, at-risk students, parent community family involvement, and bright futures. It's a pretty good list. Dr. Reich.
Thank you. I'd like to introduce just a few people that I have here with me this evening that have contributed to this report. First, Michelle Melody is one of our family school liaisons. She services primarily the south side of town, students south of I-70. And then also Jennifer Beavers joins us this evening as well, who primarily serves the north side of town, students and families north of I-70. And then also Mr. Ryan Adams, who joins us fresh off the football field. But he is one of the co-directors of our Snai Valley Academy. And so they have helped in preparing this report this evening. And pending any questions, may jump in towards the end. This is a pretty lengthy report. I don't know if you noticed, with lots of different programs, but I do want to highlight just a few things on the report. One thing that I'd like to highlight is starting 2 years ago, the last time I was before you to share this report, I had been in the position since July of that year. And so a lot of things have changed since that time. One of those things is we've added that second family school liaison. And so our numbers of students who are being helped and supported by family school liaisons has actually increased quite a bit. In 2022, it was 452 students, went up to 648, and then most recently 755. Really working hard towards proactive support of our students, making sure that we can get ahead of any situations before families and students fall too far behind and need too significant of help, really being proactive. Another thing that's changed under this umbrella of student services is diversion services. So diversion participation is something that we added this school year, this last school year, 24-25. And we partnered with Borough Comprehensive Mental Health. And they had a grant that was provided to them to help with services for students who have violated rules related to vaping, substance abuse, and certain behavioral or emotional regulation situations. And we have had a total of 28 students participate in diversion services. This allows their suspension time to roll back. As you likely know, suspension doesn't really fix behavior, and so really adding another layer of support for students so that we can prevent reoffending in that same way. Another thing that I'd like to highlight tonight is our Snai Valley graduation rate. Snai Valley Academy is a wonderful opportunity for students to graduate in a variety of ways, but I changed the chart into a line graph because I really feel like it highlights an interesting component of our history. You can see that in 2019-2020, we were at 21 graduates that school year, and something else happened that same school year that you're familiar with. We didn't really end the school year in school. And then we had a significant increase up to 52 graduates in the 2022-2023 school year. And then now we've gone back to where that line continues to grow. So if you really think about it as 21 graduates up to that 34 graduates in 2023 tends to be the new trend, but really recouping some graduates through that process. Just kind of an interesting look at data. But the Snai Valley Academy, they continue to do great work with our students and appreciate the expansion of space to be able to support those students. The last thing that I'd like to highlight as far as updates is related to our back to school fair participation. Over the years, this is our third year of having a back to school fair through Bright Futures, and we went up to 84 students participating, up from 69 students this past school year. We continue to find new ways to make sure that we're reaching all the students that we need to. We don't feel that we're there yet, but we continue to find a variety of ways, including having a survey that went out to ask for information from families regarding a request for help early for even as soon as next year, asking now for help for next year. Lastly, just looking at our goals for the next 2 years, we really want to continue to proactively use our family school liaisons. It's important to us that we respond to needs sooner in order to help keep problems small and supporting families. And then also continuing to work with our Borough Comprehensive Mental Health and Country Crossroads, our school-based therapy partnerships, to make sure that as students are ready, we dismiss them out of school-based therapy. As you guys know, space is a premium, and we want to make sure that we're helping and taking care of students' needs. But as students are ready, that we are dismissing them out of school-based therapy. We don't want to push them out, but we want to make sure that as they're ready, that they're able to graduate from that program. Be happy to entertain any questions.
All right, thank you. Any questions from board?
I have some questions.
Yeah.
What can you help explain? So, like, you have the number of the McKinney-Vento students, and
Sure.
then your number of students served.
Mhm.
So then, obviously, that's quite like there's not every student's going to qualify for McKinney-Vento. But then, what is the large discrepancy between only less than 10% qualifying of the students that are worked with for McKinney-Vento? Like, what are those other students being provided or connected with?
So there are some students that are within our school district that don't require any additional services. They are riding to and from school on transportation because they're doubled up in a home. They're already qualifying for free and reduced lunch as opposed to just the McKinney-Vento qualification. That would be the method that those students would already be receiving supports. Is that what you're asking?
No, like if you're saying that our FSL, or our family school liaisons are working with 650 kids, what are they doing? Like, can you just describe a little bit more of the
Oh.
type of kids they're working with and what they're doing? Like, not every kid's going to qualify for McKinney-Vento. So
Okay.
what are all the other 600 kids that are being worked with? What are some of the services that they're getting in it? Like, does that just
Sure.
include Burl? Is it, because technically Burl is separate from our FSLs. So
Sure.
like, I would assume that they're, I don't know if they're doubling up on that or what that would look like. So just kind of the
Absolutely.
services
Sorry,
provided.
I apologize. I didn't
No,
answer.
no, that's okay.
I'll defer and let one of our FSLs, if you guys want to step up to the microphone. Otherwise, you won't be part of the recording, and just share some of the other work that you do with families.
Yeah, sure. I'm Jennifer Beavers. So we do, of course, work with our McKinney-Vento students, but we also work with students that are in foster care. Sorry, thank you. Foster care, and any of our families that we could be looking at from a socioeconomic standpoint. So our students that might be on free and reduced meals, or families that we think might qualify for something like that. We do partner with both of our school-based mental health programs alongside of our school counselors. Where Michelle and I come in is when maybe a counselor's done referrals for school-based therapy, but the family isn't acting upon that. And so we just come in. Liaison is really the perfect word for us because we are that partnership between school and home to help families access services that we have to provide for them. We also support with attendance, support with just lots of family contact, families that are just hard to reach. And we try to work to make relationships with them, and that's where that proactive piece comes in. The more that we can get in front of these families early and build a positive relationship, we hope to be able to prevent any conflict later. If we can get the parents on our side or the guardians on our side, more than half the battle is over.
Awesome, thank you. So I know that like that liaison piece, sorry, yeah, you better stay here, sorry, because I got a lot of questions. So with, obviously, one of those big pieces in that liaison is the fact that you're connecting people to community resources. What's tough is we're a small, like the school is our largest employer in this city. So like for community resources, how is that going? Like I think that's probably, you have to lean a lot on our faith-based groups. But just curious as to what community resources, is there a lot of things that we do have to refer to neighboring cities? And what are we able to get families connected with?
So we do, like you said, we do lean on our faith-based partners. We have our Bright Futures organization, but we are also part of just that larger Jackson County net, so to speak. So me coming from a different county, I came from Cass County prior to here, so I was always jealous of Jackson County social workers because there are so many more resources within the county. One resource we use for a lot of things that kind of has eased some of our practice is it's called Striven. It wasn't even, I don't even think it was a referral process whenever I first came here back in 2023. But that's through Combat. They provided agencies kind of a one-stop shop for people to go to if they needed utility assistance, housing assistance, food assistance, mental health, job assistance. And for us in Grain Valley, our hub is actually located in Independence. We aren't competing necessarily with Kansas City for those, or Raytown. They have their own hubs. So it's really just us, Blue Springs, Oak Grove, and Independence.
And in one of those things, so I know, and I know this got started, I do not know how it is going, but the Department of Family Services had basically, I mean, if I were to, it would be an FSL that they kind of added to try to start doing case management before a hotline has been made. Is that a service that you guys are able to utilize as well?
Yes.
Okay, and have you had success with being able to refer people through that case management piece?
It's a hard program. It's a great program, but it's a hard program to get
Right,
people
you really have to
want
have
do.
the right piece for it to work, and so I just want to know if we're able to get it to work.
It is a hard component because families have to understand that they're welcoming somebody into their home to look at intimate things,
Mhm.
look at finances, look at how we parent, look at my kitchen, or, in my kitchen and my dishes and my sink. And that's really kind of scary for a lot of our families. So through the relationships that Jennifer and I continue to strive to promote and develop with each other and with our families and our students, it's a baby step, I would say. We have referred and talked about it with lots of well, I have. Haven't had one bite yet.
Yeah.
But it's also similar to the program that Community Service League has when it comes to helping families with financial assistance for mortgages. That's becomes a very intimate look into
Right.
their finances. And, initially I didn't have any families take that offer, but then we did, and then they saw some success. So it's about that comfort level, reintegrating and reinforcing that this is going to help you in the end.
And you had mentioned CSL. So do we lean on them for holiday help? Like, how does so like I recently had received a survey, right? For like, can I help? Do I need help? Obviously, I received that through school. Just want to know, like, are we receiving enough help for that to be able to serve the families in need? And then the second component of that is it equitable? So like, if I choose to adopt a family and my threshold is very different of I can spend $150 on a kid and somebody else is spending 50, like that doesn't feel great because that's hard to regulate. So how are we meeting the need? Are we leaning on that resource, or is that something we assume?
CSL has morphed recently. So Dr. Reich is working very closely with them to kind of come into the new dawn of what CSL looks like in Green Valley. I will say, historically speaking, yes, I worked quite a bit with Donna Compton on Christmas and Thanksgiving help. That has really changed as a lot of our community members and faith-based partners and businesses, our student services in the high school have taken a larger role to support students and families. But that's still a big component. As things have altered, I'm not sure what it's going to look like in the future.
Gotcha. But what's tough is that's obviously something that we have to plan for now, hence
Right.
the survey. So that
Yeah.
made me think about that, like being able to help and provide with, and when do we lean on those resources versus is that something we can handle in-house, and how does that systematically work? Because then we're only adding to your guys' plate in that manner, and that has to be tough. So is Burl and the Crossroad, is that in all of our buildings?
It is.
So then are all of those, are numbers pretty equal among all of those buildings? Because I see it by like elementary, middle, high, but like according to our buildings, is everybody about the same with referrals?
Not maybe with referrals, but that has to do with really staffing availabilities. Right now, we have a Burl staff that's available in every building, whether it's therapy services or case management services. And with Country Crossroads, we only have 2 clinicians, and one is here on Thursdays and one is here on Fridays. So they really try and see whoever they can in that day, and it could be from Prairie Branch to South Middle.
That's tough. Yeah.
And the numbers can sometimes be a little deceiving with our school-based therapy because for Matthews, for example, is our more transient population. And so at 1 month, they may be servicing 22 kids, and then the following month, it may be down to like 16 because we had that many kids move out. So it's really a fluid number. But we have shown growth in that we now have 3 full-time therapists with Burl and 3 full-time case managers with Burl spread out in all of our buildings. So that's been a big win for us.
Have you had any issues with turnover with Burl of this?
But not like we used to.
Okay, good.
Not like when the program was initially started. The consistency has improved.
That's good. 'Cause that's a really tough piece
Yes.
to have the position and have the opportunity, and then, oh wait, no one's here to work it. Okay, good.
That has steadily gotten better.
Yeah. And then do they share, so the diversion program that Burl does, I'm pretty sure that they do a pre and post test data point, those types, do they share that information with you guys? Like, so to say, sure, we have this many number of kids in it. Did it do a lick of good? Like, how do we, getting kids in the first place, that's great. Like, that's the hardest step in all of those pieces, is getting people through the door and starting that in the first place. Do we have any data on, like, rate of completion or any sort of, because I'm pretty sure they have to do, like, they have to have research behind that. Do you?
Sorry. Gavin said you want to speak to that? They do.
So since this was just our first year of completion, we actually meet with them on Friday, and they'll bring that data to the table. So at the end of each year is when they'll share that information with us. So yes,
Gotcha. So we know who's involved, but we just don't know effectiveness yet.
correct.
That's great.
Yes.
Now, so with our Snai Valley, is there any, I didn't see it on the goals, to expand to middle school? Is that an option? I know we've getting more room, but I'm sure there is need for middle school students as well. Is that
So
part of any sort of long-term plan?
the goals are for the next 2 years.
Fair, got it.
So I would say no. Also, our Snai Valley Academy is really a credit recovery program, so it's not looked at as an alternative placement, behavioral placement, anything like that, and so may not meet our middle school needs. Maybe it does. That's maybe something that we would want to explore, but for the time being, that's not on the plate for the next 2 years.
Gotcha. And then on one of the goals, it was mentioned, like trust was mentioned as a level of
Yes.
trust and collaboration increases. Has
Mm-hmm.
trust, has trust been an issue? Has that been something like just integrating these services into the building? Like, is that, how is that?
I think it's twofold. I think it's making sure that the building is aware that we have family school liaisons, who they are and what they can do, similar to the questions that you asked. You know, there are people in the building that may not know exactly what their role is. But in addition to that, our family school liaisons are social workers, and there's a stigma with that title, unfortunately. And so just making sure that our families know that these are people that are here to help support their students and support their family, and making sure that they're aware, again, that they exist and that they're here to help. And sometimes that takes a little bit longer for some families than others. And so we're just continuing to make sure that people are aware of Bright Futures, and they're aware of our family school liaisons, and that they're willing to allow us to partner to be able to support them.
Gotcha. And then, so it also, wouldn't it be within the next 2 years that we could look at adding a budgeted, I'm sure our FSLs know, like, can we add one? I'm sure, like, if our numbers keep growing.
Well, I don't know.
Is that something you would recommend?
I don't know that it would be the next thing that I would
Step,
recommend. I think we have a pretty hefty list of the next. But I do feel like it needs to be somewhere in the future.
That's tough. Well, thank you. There's definitely a lot of successes in this. I know I had a lot of questions, but like
Yeah.
seeing the growth in the program and seeing, like especially with the back to school fair, getting people in the door, that's huge. And getting those right people in those right places is awesome. So thank you. Sorry guys, that's all my questions. Anybody else?
You might have already covered this. What do you anticipate the number to be by the end of this school year, current school year,
Of
of needs, of cases? So we're growing from, 67% over the last 2 school years. It's roughly, 15 to 17% of the student population where it's at now? Like, do you anticipate the need? So I had asked you this maybe a year or 2 ago, and it was a great answer, by the way. But are the needs growing, or are we doing a better job of identifying the needs? Like, is that, I think you responded with yes.
both.
Both.
Yes,
Yeah.
the answer is the same.
Okay.
I think having 2 family school liaisons has definitely helped us to better identify families that are in need. I think that they are closer to the pulse of our families, but I also think that there's an increase of need. Families are finding themselves in situations that they have never had before, and so we're there to help support them and kind of help guide their way and connect them with community resources the best we can to help support them so their students can be successful.
I think Ms. Schwartz was alluding to this, that and I know you have a lot of support staff internally, but 2 FSLs seems a little light on 755 situations that need assistance to
Yes.
me.
Mhm.
So I don't know if that's maybe something we need to bring up in conversation. Anyway,
Yeah.
appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. It's been a fun 2 years. I appreciate you guys and the support that you give us. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Yes. Thank you.
So from the Sni Valley side of things, I'd like to go back to that part of
Sure.
the conversation. And you mentioned that our program really isn't an alternative school program, it's just more of a credit recovery program. So is there something that could be looked at to look at more of an alternative school setting versus just a credit recovery?
So it is an alternative school program. It just isn't a behavior focused alternative school program. So students that have significant behavior needs, that wouldn't necessarily be the pathway to best meet their support. We're actively investigating and making sure, and you're working on the MTSS process for behavior, working on making sure we have a strong tier 1, strong tier 2, strong tier 3. Once those things are really in place, I feel like that's then when we would have the information to say, yes, school board, we're ready to really start exploring this. I don't feel like we would, in good conscience, be able to come to you and say we're ready to open an alternative behavior school at this time until those things are in place.
But your thought is that it's probably something in the future that could be and probably will be needed,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
right? I mean, as far as the numbers for Sni Valley, you're looking at the consistency from 2021, then 2023, 24, 24, 25 to be kind of that trend.
Mhm.
So maybe a couple additional students each year moving forward is what you're looking at.
Correct.
Very good. Any other questions? Comments? Willie? Saw you reaching for the mic a couple different times.
That was prematurely. I thought we were moving on to the next item.
All right,
Full transparency.
very good.
Take all the time you need.
Me too, sorry.
All right, Dr. Reich, thank you. All right, that will take us to new business.
I'm ready.
All right,
Yeah, we'll see.
thank you for coming in.
Thanks, team. Appreciate all of you.
Item number 1, the acquisition of land adjacent to Matthews Elementary.
Yeah, we're pleased to bring this to the board for conversation and open session. This is, the acquisition of land is one of those topics that school boards in the early stages work only in closed session on. So we're pleased to come forward in open session tonight for information and discussion. It's not an action item tonight. But wanted to update everyone. We've entered into a preliminary agreement for the purchase of 8.3 acres of commercially zoned land that's adjacent to Matthews Elementary School. I'll draw your attention to the graphic. The graphic has Matthews Elementary School sitting in the section that's light green. It's 5.98 acres. And then there is another 2.92 acres that is mostly pond, detention pond to the north of that. And so the 8.3 acres of commercially zoned land that we are working on purchasing is in pink and purple. There's 3 parcels, 2 parcels to the west and a third parcel to the east of the existing school site. The overall price of the new land is consistent with comparable commercial property prices in the area. We would bring this proposed purchase back to the board at your meeting on September 18th for a vote on the final purchase agreement. It would be as soon as that night if we stay on track here the next couple of weeks. And also on our lease purchase loan to make the purchase of the property. Representatives from LJ Hart and Company will join us that night They will outline the terms of the loan, and they will answer any questions on that agreement. As the board's fully aware, we have been working for over a year to find a solution to our problem of being at or above capacity at our elementary schools. Matthews, in particular, is over capacity and is projected to experience modest growth over the next 10 years. Our other 3 elementary schools are all approaching capacity, so simply doing a boundary adjustment doesn't solve the problem because there's nowhere to move kids to at this time. In recent years, the level of growth K through 5 has actually slowed. So for that reason, and as a result of our demography study a year ago and our architectural work that's been going on for the last 12 months, we conclude that this is not the time to build elementary school number 5 until such time that growth at K5 really starts to spike again. But instead, we feel that it is a more responsible move to make to expand our capacity at our current elementary schools. So just a little bit about, just some fun facts about Matthews. It was first opened in 1978, and no, we're not going to go all the way through all that, but it is our oldest and our smallest elementary school, and it sits on the smallest parcel of land of any of our schools. It's 8.9 acres, including just under 3 acres making up that northern portion that is mostly a detention pond. If we were building a new school or we were looking for land to build an elementary school, the standard is about 15 to 20 acres. So with the acquisition of these 3 parcels, it would bring our total land at Matthews to 17.2 acres. Plenty of room for much needed improvements. So any improvements we actually make to the site would require the passage of a school bond issued by the vote of our community, which could be presented as soon as April of '26. With this acquisition of land, planning would begin on a proposed additional classrooms, student restrooms. We also want to increase our parking capacity at Matthews. Anyone who has been at Matthews at arrival dismissal knows we need to improve our traffic flow for our cars, for our parent pickup and drop off, and for our school buses, who I've posed the question, how does that many buses fit on that site? And the answer I got was they don't. So we can address that. We can make other updates to the interior and exterior of the building, such as a larger gymnasium and a larger cafeteria. If you're going to improve the capacity of the school, we would consider those things as well. And again, any improvements to the site would be shared in more detail as we got closer to a potential bond measure in April of 2020, as soon as April of 2026. Other benefits of doing a significant addition to Matthews and one other elementary school, the second elementary school would be a smaller addition feeding South Middle School, so feeding the other half of the feeder system, would be that we would bring Matthews up to be a 4 to 5 section building in line with the other 3 elementary schools. So we wouldn't make it the biggest school, but we would bring it up to speed with the others. We would delay the needs to adjust our boundary adjustments for the elementary schools for the foreseeable future, and we would delay the need to build and operate an additional school. So you borrow money to build a school. New schools are incredibly expensive, but your operating budget is what has to pay to staff that building, and we wouldn't be able to afford that without asking voters to help us with our levy. So we delay all of those things for the foreseeable future. So our communication like this, detailing what our plans are, is slated for, could go out yet this week. We want to have this discussion with the board tonight. And again, this measure, the measure to actually do any amendments to the building or the site would be pending the passage of a bond issue as soon as April of '26. So that's what I was eager to tell you tonight.
That's
Now you can
big
see.
news.
Yes.
Thanks. All right. With that, are there any questions on the potential purchase?
Just a clarification, it's not only the oldest elementary school, it's the oldest building in the Green Valley School District, correct?
That is correct.
Any other questions about the proposal for 8.3 acres? All right, are we, oh,
Real quick.
Yeah.
Have we ever done a land lease purchase? Or is this new territory for the district?
We have done a lease purchase for the construction of the Early Childhood Center and for at least one of the early phases at North Middle School. That was when I was a new assistant superintendent. I do not believe we have done a lease purchase for land purchase. We bought several acres on the North Campus for future schools, and I don't recall if that was a lease purchase agreement or what the terms were. That was quite a while ago.
Okay. Just seems like it would come with some unique challenges, for lack of a better term. Just want to make sure we think through those. I don't know what they are. But
Right,
make sure
and
we think through those.
we've been Dr. Gooch and I have been working with the LJ Hart team behind the scenes, and we have them putting some numbers together for us now. They gave us a draft today that we want to kick back to them with some thoughts. But yes, we're gearing up to have that full presentation in a couple of weeks with the board so that we can talk about that. And you know, I think a fair question at that time would be, you know, what other options were considered? You know, other than this recommendation, what else could we have looked at just to make sure the board can feel good about the recommendation at that time?
All right. Any other comments, questions?
This might-
Oh, go ahead.
This might be I mean, once, if we go through this process, will the city be involved in terms of the road? Like, if we were to do this, but Sinning South traffic is already a concern, but considering there's going to be construction and stuff happening, has the city been consulted with in regards to all this?
Yeah, so when we take this on, we would work with the city and their engineers. Our architects and construction company would have their set of engineers, and they would be looking at timing of the work, any phasing, any impact it has on the current road, any changes that would be needed to the road because of what we're doing. So currently, the two purple parcels, there are already at least 2 curb cut sections that access that property that, as a layperson looking at it, it seems like they're in a pretty good location. But once we get into it, it could be recommended that it gets engineered so that we're not using those, we're using a different site altogether. There is a turn lane for much of what accesses the purple on the west, which is encouraging. But those are the kinds of things that, and the city is aware that we are looking at the land, but once we actually purchase the land and we start planning, we would be planning with them.
Any other questions or comments? So with that, we are good with Dr. Welly and the team messaging this out this week if they choose to. Yes. Yes. Okay.
Very good. Thank you very much.
All right. That will take us to the addition of 1 elementary teacher FTE. I would look for a motion to add 1 elementary teacher FTE.
Second.
Dr. Welly?
Yeah, so at Stony Point Elementary School this fall, we have 3 sections at that grade level, and each of those, soon after the start of the school year, reached 27 students. It just took a handful of new students to get to 27. That triggers the addition of a 4th section. If we were much further into the school year than now, we would probably take this option off the table, but there is practically the whole school year ahead of us. And so we'd very much like to move forward with adding a 4th section. We had already been generating applications when the board granted us another section at Matthews the last time that you met. So we went off of that posting and those applicants. And so we do have a person in mind for that. And just to clarify, we haven't talked about this before, but when we're on the eve of the start of the school year or the school year is underway and we add another section, that is not the time for transfer requests. So for example, in this case, we have, we've opened up this 5th grade section. This isn't the time for a 2nd grade teacher or a 4th grade teacher to come forward and say, I always wanted to teach 5th grade. So, that we're trying to solve problems and put a cap on it, and we don't want to pass problems onto new areas. So, but if we do have staff that say, man, I sure wish I could have had a shot at that 2nd grade class that you added at Matthews, or that 5th grade section that you added at Stony Point, we have a process in place for people to indicate they would like to do something different. But that's initiated in the winter time for the following school year. So that's my only other caveat for that.
Okay. Any questions?
I do have a question. So on, I know it is hard to change teachers. How does that transition process and communication piece work? Because obviously, if we approve this tonight, what's our timeline? How quickly do we have parents notified? And I would assume that they would be appropriately planning and kind of have an action of like who goes to what class,
Right.
and then and how soon that takes action. So what's our timeline on that and transition piece and communication of families?
Yeah, so with the decision last week to put this on the table for the board, we also just kind of took executive action, given the fact that the school year is already underway. We started talking to parents. We started identifying the students that we would put into a 4th section. My instructions to the team were, one way to incentivize the addition of a new section after the start of a school year is to assure those kids and those families that this class is going to be the smallest class. So you can have your child, we have 27 in their class right now. We can go to a class where there's 19 or 20, and maybe it stays a little smaller than the other 3 sections. That's just a little win, given the fact that you're going to meet a new teacher for the first, your 2nd, 5th grade teacher in the start of the school year. So we try to give them a little bit of a win, because it's still going to provide significant relief to the other 3 classrooms. So we've identified a teacher, we've identified the students, we're talking to parents. Dr. Gooch and I checked in on the classroom. We helped move some furniture around the other day going into the weekend. We have instructional materials. The classroom was going to get set up over the weekend. I don't know if they're going to have class tomorrow, but yet this week we're going to have 4 sections of 5th grade. So the team has really been working hard behind the scenes to make this happen quickly.
Any pushback or stumbling blocks or any concerns along the way?
I haven't heard anything. Dr. Allen, did you get any? If a family really is uncomfortable, then we just thank them for their trouble and we move on.
Yeah.
So it really is a win for anybody who gets involved. That's just a lot of 5th graders.
Absolutely. Any other questions on that? So as far as, we've had this situation in the past, as recent as just this past year and as recent as last meeting. So with these, this is just going to be a reevaluation as we come into next year's budget to see from a staffing standpoint if we need to reduce back or where we're going with that.
Yep.
Is that correct?
Yep, we track the numbers. We track the numbers every year. In fact, we may have projected fewer 5th grades across the district for this current school year than what we had last year. So I think this actually recoups a position that we didn't think we were going to need. Like this group was going to dip below the threshold. I don't know if it was just this school, but we do that from grade level to grade level.
Very good.
Yeah. So once a position is in place, it's not necessarily always there.
Yeah.
We'll move them as needed.
Was this just a lot of, maybe this was said, a lot of move-ins, or just, because I'm assuming we knew our 4th grade coming in, moving
Right.
up to 5th grade wasn't going to need this, but then all of a sudden we're hitting this. It was just
Yeah.
unforeseen numbers of
Correct.
new faces, I'm
It's
assuming.
it's not an unusual number of new students at Stony Point, but the concentration at this grade level is what pushed them from 25 in a class to, at the start of the school year, we had 26 in a couple of these classrooms. And we're like, oh, I think we're hitting 27. It looks like maybe we're gonna hit 27 in one of them. And then within days, we were at 27 in all 3 of them. And it's like, well, it's still time. We could still add a section. So yeah, it's where they landed. And we're willing to tolerate a little larger class sizes in 5th grade than we are in 2nd grade or 1st grade. So we have different standards that we've set that are triggers throughout the grade levels.
And I'm assuming we don't see a lot of fluctuation, like we're not expecting 3 or 4 or 5 to move in the next month.
No, no. You know, we do get turnover in all of our schools, but in most of our schools, it's always a net gain. So even though we'll have kids move away during the school year, there will be more who move in than move out.
All right. Any other questions? All right. All in favor of adding 1 elementary school teacher FTE, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is to add a 1 high school girls tennis coach. I would look for a motion to add 1 tennis assistant coach. Dr. Welly?
Yeah, we are up to 50 girls in high school tennis and wish to add a 3rd coach. We have some secured and ready to begin and to give an extra duty contract to this individual. And, you know, most of you know Coach Draper. He coaches basketball for us. He also coaches tennis, and his philosophy is there's always room. So we're excited to have more kids involved in our fall athletics, and tennis is a way that we can accommodate that. So this is a pretty easy maneuver. The person that we're also recommending for this role, which this vote is just for the FTE, but the person we're recommending for this role is already associated with the program has been volunteering, and we're ready to go and make them official, put them on the payroll for this position.
All right. Any questions on that?
On the piece that was done, that was on the news, that talks about all the activities and involvement that we had. I think Brandon
Oh.
shared that we had like 600 kiddos that
Yeah,
are involved. Is
think
that in
that's right.
fall or is that all around?
think-
Is that, like, that was
It was just in the fall.
just fall. Like, that's amazing. Like that. So this is such a good problem to have.
Yeah.
I'm just excited. I think it's great for kids. And I love Coach Draper's philosophy.
Yes.
From a staff member, is it someone that's a teacher or is it a outside source that we're?
Do they otherwise teach for us too? Middle school, right? Middle school teacher?
Okay.
Yeah. I knew it wasn't high school. I didn't think about it.
All right, very good. Any other questions? All right. All in favor of adding 1 tennis assistant coach, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. The next item will be to approve the transfer of Anita Lackey to communications specialist. I would look for a motion to approve the transfer of Anita Lackey to communications specialist.
So moved.
All right. Dr. Welly?
Yes, with the addition of a director of communications role, and we welcome Cameron Porter tonight, who is here for her first board meeting as our director of communications. We wish to backfill the communications specialist role with Anita Lackey. Anita has previously, she's worked for us for several years. She's been producing that award-winning magazine all these years, but she's previously had shared duties as Dr. Allen's admin assistant. So with this transfer, she would continue to work on the magazine, but then her other duties would transition away from admin assistant and more to exclusively communications, like it would include the website and other things. She's also very good. She's also very good she does a lot of graphics works for us. So if you see a lot of graphics that we put out, she's probably behind those. This position will report to the director of communications. And our intent is to not backfill the admin assistant role. So at a time that we would do the typical October budget amendment, then you would see credit for that FTE position. So a year ago, we had a communication specialist and an admin assistant. And when we asked the board to authorize a director of communications, we added that as a new position. And now we want to backfill the communications specialist role, and we want to strike the admin assistant role. So we want to stay at two FTEs compared to where we were a year ago. Now they're both upgraded, but it's the same number of FTEs.
Okay. Any questions on that?
So when you say strike, that means you would remove the position from next year's budget setup?
Correct. In fact, we'll strike it from the remainder of this year's budget as an FTE.
Okay, is that something we are voting on, or is that just something that'll
You,
be?
you're not voting on that tonight, but you'll vote on the budget amendment in October.
Okay.
Thank you for asking that question. The question is, does that hinder, not having the admin assistant role? So the way that Dr. Allen has structured her department, they have some shared duties. So even though it started out with predominantly this admin assistant, they now have shared duties with multiple admin roles. And she assures me, we should probably hear from her so that I'm not twisting her arm, but she assures me that she's going to be okay.
Yeah, I call it the zone instead of man-to-man. So we do very well. We're a great collaborative team.
The roles of the communications specialist versus director, I guess, because I guess we didn't have one of those correct last year, and so how are those going to be distinguished? And I'm assuming that there's need for both of those spots.
Yeah, there is plenty of work from a communications work. There's plenty to do, and so we're going to keep 2+ people busy on that, even though we have 2 people with those communications titles. With the director role, though, that comes a higher level of responsibility for planning and implementing communications. It's a different tier of function, duty, responsibilities, and a different level of being, bringing director level leadership to communications.
That will alleviate whoever was kind of handling or responsible for that before. It's probably pulling from different areas, right?
Yes, we're going to go back to Dr. Allen again because before we had a director of communications, Dr. Allen, that was one of the hats that she wore. But when we're in a crisis or we're in a situation that can escalate as a crisis, Dr. Allen, because of her numerous roles as academic and student services as assistant superintendent, she tends to be supporting the administrators, the building administrators who are working on whatever that escalating issue is. And that's why we needed a director, was somebody that we could count on that had the skills and experience to really jump in and take the lead on the communications piece. And honestly, Dr. Allen and I would often be tag teaming those duties. And it's hard for me to let go of because that's something that I did for a long time. So I have a certain way I like things done too. But this will be real good discipline for me as well because Cameron's ready to step right in and take the lead on these things.
Well, it's nice that we have somebody to be able to handle some of those because it did feel like that there was a lot of things.
Yes.
That people were having to oversee, and so it's nice to be able to have this. I just didn't know exactly how that was.
Yeah.
Kind of laying out there. So
Appreciate it.
All right. Any other questions? All right. All in favor of approving the transfer of Anita Lackey to communication specialist, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is to approve the absences of Aaron Scully. Look for a motion to approve the absences of Aaron Scully associated with his 6-month deployment with the Missouri Air National Guard beginning in the fall of 2025.
Second.
All right.
I do have a discussion item. I'd like to amend the motion to approve the absences of Aaron Scully for 12 months. And that's not saying that we wouldn't then extend it longer. That's just putting some sort of sunset on it should his orders get extended.
So
He and I talked about it.
I understand. No worries. So we will amend the motion to read, approve the absence of Aaron Scully associated with his 6-month deployment for 12 months? Or, because it is, I mean, I just want to make sure that we don't,
Well, anybody
add
who's been in
something.
the military knows that 6 months won't really be 6 months.
I understand.
It's going to be a lot longer. So
I just don't
let's-
want to put it in here that he has a 12-month deployment.
No, no, it's a 12-month sunset
Okay.
on our approval, at which point we will revisit the issue if he's still on orders.
So maybe it's associated, so we're excusing his absences for 12 months that's associated with his deployment with the Missouri Air National Guard beginning in the fall of 25.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's just the deployment, 12, yeah.
Well, we want to get rid of the 6-month deployment, all of that.
Yeah, up to.
And
If he
we
comes
will
back and he's just hanging out at his house while we're meeting,
That's a different
that's
story.
a different story.
So we will
Up to?
approve the absence of Aaron Scully for up to 12 months.
For his deployment with the Missouri Air National Guard?
That sounds good to me. So I don't know if that's the motion. Second.
I did not make the
One
motion.
second. Well,
Or no, I guess I made the motion, right?
you did.
Okay.
Well, you're going to have to say what the motion is here in a minute. I'm going to read it back to you.
Okay.
Yeah. We'll read it back out here in just a
Yeah.
minute.
So motion to approve the absences of Aaron Scully for 12 months for his deployment with the Missouri Air National Guard beginning in the fall of 2025. This will be revisited in 12 months as needed.
So that I made the amendment,
Correct.
right? So
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion on the amendment?
But if he's back, you wouldn't revisit it, I guess was what I was thinking.
So we need to,
And you do also, when this expires, you also, the policy triggers again that after you would have to act within the first 3 absences again. So it is triggered to be talked about again. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, gotcha. Mm-hmm.
okay. So we're good with as it's amended now? Okay. Any other discussion on the amended motion?
So, getting into the details that you can get into, potentially would you have any availability over your deployment to zoom in? I mean, there's a lot of big decisions coming up, and I know you probably can't answer that. Like, yeah, I'll be available at Thursday at 6:30.
If I could interject real quick. So the way that the motion has been put together, if Mr. Scully has the availability and ability to join our meetings, he still can.
Okay.
He's not barred from being in our meetings. Yeah, we're just pre-approving the absences for if he's gone for 6 to 12 months.
Thank you.
roll call.
Well, we have to do the approve the amended motion and then approve the amendment and then we'll approve the motion. So we have to do 2 votes. So I'll do a roll call to approve the amended motion, which reads,
Motion to approve the absences of Aaron Scully associated with his 12-month deployment with the Missouri Air National Guard beginning in the fall of 2025. This will be revisited in 12 months as needed.
all right,
We said it wasn't a 12-month deployment. I thought we get rid of the.
for 12 months associated with his deployment with the Missouri. Thank you.
There we go. Wait.
All right.
that's not what
Sorry.
you
Read it again.
I knew it was coming. Motion to approve the absences of Aaron Scully for 12 months associated with his deployment with the Missouri Air National Guard beginning in the fall of 2025. This will be revisited in 12 months as needed.
All right. Mr. Pollard?
Yes.
Mr. Williams? Dr. Taylor? Ms. Schwartz?
Yes.
Mr. English?
Yes.
Mr. Scully?
Abstain.
And I'm a yes. Okay. Now we're going to vote to approve the motion, which is now.
Approve the absences of Aaron Scully for 12 months associated with his deployment with the Missouri Air National Guard beginning in the fall of 2025. This will be revisited in 12 months as needed.
Okay. So this will be final approval. Mr. Pollard?
Yes.
Mr. Williams?
Yes.
Dr. Taylor? Ms. Schwartz?
Yes.
Mr. English?
Yes.
Mr. Scully?
I abstain.
And I'm a yes. All right. Thank you for that. All right. That will take us to unfinished business. Number 1, board member key cards for building access. I'd look for a motion to authorize the superintendent to issue limited key card access to school board members after a criminal background check and approval at the discretion of the board president and the superintendent. The outcome of the background checks will be provided to the board recording secretary and superintendent.
Second.
All right. Any questions or discussion?
Like to offer an amendment to this, and I don't know how to state this.
Okay.
If board members are going to have key cards, this isn't the amendment, I'm just talking
Yeah.
through the logic. If they are going to have key cards, there has to be some sort of accountability and repercussions if they abuse them. So I think that we need to tie it to a code of conduct. And your key card is revoked for a term of, I'm just going to throw out 12, or 1 calendar year, 12 months. Should the card be abused? We don't have a code of conduct currently that we can tie this to. I mean, we do, but we need a key card code of conduct that would have to be built by someone. And then I do have a clarification around who authorizes the use of the key cards. I believe that the motion that you just read said "and," so it requires the superintendent and the school board president to authorize, like giving me a key card, for example.
Correct.
Okay.
That is how it reads.
Are
That'd
we
be-
okay with that as a board?
Guess so.
Yeah, I think I would clarify, since superintendent is included in the motion, you're voting to authorize the superintendent to start this system. And when I issue a key card as a result of a background check and potentially, the signing of a key card code of conduct, as superintendent, what I'm really doing is just, are all the boxes checked? I don't feel you're authorizing the superintendent to be the enforcer on actions of individual board members. I don't interpret it that way, but it would be my responsibility to bring back to the board president, hey, we have an issue for the board to revisit on this. That's how I interpret the whole thing, if that makes sense. So the motion itself is really about how does an individual board member get issued a key card? We're going to do these things. You're going to pass a background check. You're going to review and sign the code of conduct. We're going to both look at each other and nod. Those things are done. They get issued a key card with limited access.
And then I know last time we visited this, Dr. Taylor had mentioned having a record and reporting back, and I think,
We
I
can,
mean,
we can report regularly on its use and certainly on any alleged misuse.
correct.
So,
Yeah.
sorry, didn't mean.
Oh, no,
to
go
cut you
ahead.
off. So I have questions. There's going to be some debate about this, I'm sure. Do we debate the amendment, get that lined out, and then talk about the broader issue? Or do we debate the broader issue and then,
I would look at, I guess, yes, we probably need to look at the amendment first.
clear that, and then
And
we'll
then-
vote on and talk about the broader issue?
Yeah, so, yes, I think we need to get the motion put together, however we're gonna vote on it,
Right,
and then discuss that motion.
makes sense.
So, the new motion needs to figure out how to tie a code of conduct to having a key card.
Yeah, code of conduct, and really what I'm driving at is some level of accountability.
Correct.
Give somebody a key card and say, hey, don't do these things. What happens if they don't do it? I always ask, what it,
Yeah.
so what? Well, it gets revoked is I guess what I'm driving at.
Correct. And you're saying, okay,
And the code of conduct, I guess, is just, or what we're calling that would just be tied back to the policy.
It's really
of
the
what-
policy.
Correct.
You have to make an appointment. You have to do all the things that we said that you had to do. I don't remember all of them.
Right.
Whatever it said.
okay. And basically, I mean, just trying to work through this in my head. As a sitting board member, we're already tied to the policies.
Right.
So
But
do
there's-
we need to have a code of conduct put into place, or is it just more of a what happens if it's misused?
What does the policy currently say? I don't recall off the top of my head what
Yeah.
it says.
So when you enter a building, you still have to check in at the front office or with someone at the building.
But you don't have to make an appointment of any kind. You could show up at any moment and just go to the front and say, hey, I'm here, and walk into
I
the
mean-
building during school hours.
Correct. That is what the policy.
Can you enter a classroom?
No.
Okay.
You're really, if, just looking at existing policies, as an individual board member with a key card, that's gonna get you in the door without ringing the doorbell. You're still gonna have to check in at the office, and at that point, whatever it is that you're requesting, if what you're requesting is access beyond that office, then you're probably waiting for me to arrive so that we can walk through the building. It just depends on what you're asking for. But it's not gonna get you past the receptionist. It just depends on what it is. I mean, at the high school, maybe, I don't know. You're gonna be treated like any other guest. And there are some adult guests to the high school that a student helper is then assigned to you to escort you to whatever it is that you're going to do. Maybe you're going to speak to a class that day. Then you would be treated like you would any other guest, but then they would have been expecting you, and you wouldn't have had to be accompanied by me.
So
If you're there just to drop in on a classroom, yes, if you forgot to call me ahead of time, then you're probably waiting in the reception area for me to show up so that we can talk about it.
So I think I'm comfortable if we can just add teeth to it. There's got to be some sort of accountability.
So
you don't do it-
and I'm just using an example.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to figure out but if you force your way through a building past the receptionist, I'm just looking at extreme,
Yeah, so
right?
let's say that
Like, you'll-
Dr. Taylor decides that she's got a day off and Grain Valley's in session, and she wants to go pop in her old classroom. Like, she's got friends there still.
Right.
They would welcome her when she went through the door. She still has to follow the policy. She can't just badge in and go wander the building without.
So if
Dr.
she
Walker.
were to just badge in and go wander the building, what's the ramifications of that?
Right. That's what I'm driving
And
at. There's gotta be,
what your recommendation or thought was you lose access for a minimum.
you lose
or
your,
you lose access for 12 months.
yeah,
and
and I
then
just
to be
threw that out there.
reconsidered,
You know,
yeah.
12 months, I think is reasonable, so.
Because Jared, you did make a comment, like, we have policy, but we've had policy, and now that policy is being changed. And so that's the issue. It's like, there's just a lot of loopholes that I mean, I think, Sarah, you have some things that you.
So the motion then is what you read, and if you violate policy, you lose it for 12 months. Lose access for 12, your access is revoked for 12 months. Your key card access, you can
Mhm.
still enter the building.
Right.
And then maybe not worry about the procedural language of a code of conduct. Just really put the teeth
I
in,
think
but not,
we already have a code of conduct.
yeah.
You know, you still can't violate that code that we already have in a completely separate policy. I think Dr. Taylor makes an excellent point. Policies get changed.
Right.
There's loopholes, but not having a policy drafted at this point, I can't, or not a policy, a code of conduct drafted at this point that I can hand out, it would be very difficult to discuss this issue and take action on it.
And my other question is are all of us in the same boat? Do we all only have access during those hours to those doors? Because from what I understand, that is not true.
I believe that's correct. I mean, it's going to be during school hours or whatever set of parameters that we set. Like what we had discussed 2 weeks ago was Fort Osage, for instance, has from whatever time it is, from 6:30 till 9 or 10 p.m.
Yeah, so another example would be Valley Kids Access. If 2 or 3 of you are parents at Valley Kids program, then does that key card grant you access when you walk to the door at that Valley Kids program?
And that's what I'm asking. Like,
Yeah, we really need to clarify. Valley Kids is not school hours. School hours are operating daytime, so
So,
that
yeah,
needs
I mean,
clarification.
do we just set a parameter of a set hours, just like at, I'm going to continue to use Fort Osage because that's the one I know uses it, of 6:30 till, or 5:30 till whatever time that is, till 10 p.m., 9 p.m., 8 p.m.
You could set it for the bell schedule too. You know, bell schedules change from year to year, but if it's during the school day, you could just say, because for whatever the building is, your bell schedule is different at the high school than it is for an elementary school. So if you want to stop by and visit different schools, you just need to abide by the different bells. I mean, that would be one way you could take it, is just do it by the bell schedule.
Okay, so let's back up because we got a lot of different parts. So we need to do the amended motion that Jared has brought up first, and then we'll move to the next part of it, of a timing system.
So if I still have questions, I can ask them.
Oh,
after.
absolutely. We're not done. We just need to,
I wrote down to add violations result in revocation. Is that, you even want to use that word? Violations result in key card access being revoked
for
12 months.
12 months. Sound right?
Yes, as a motion, we'll need to discuss further.
Correct. Okay. So the new motion is to authorize the superintendent to issue limited key card access to school board members after a criminal background check and approval at the discretion of board president and the superintendent. The outcome of the background checks will be provided to the board recording secretary and the superintendent.
Violations of use result in key card access being revoked for 12 months.
A violation, not violations.
A
Violation.
violation of use will result in key card access being revoked for 12 months.
And do we understand what that violation is?
It'd be violation of policy.
Policy now or policy that's rewritten later? That's why I just want clarification.
Whatever the policy is.
So if there's someone in the building at 6 o'clock a.m., that is a violation.
Yeah, we're gonna pin that down next, what that
Right.
parameter is.
If I understand correctly, the key cards turn off and on, right? So you would not have access at 6 a.m., right? Under current.
Yeah, I can't
Fall
imagine
under
a
correct.
6 a.m. scenario.
I am clarifying for our watchers. Thank you.
All right. So the motion is, the amended motion is to authorize the superintendent to issue limited key card access for school board members after criminal background check and approval at the discretion of the board president and the superintendent. The outcome of the background checks will be provided to the board's recording secretary and the superintendent.
A violation of use will result in key card access being revoked for 12 months.
Is that your amended motion?
It is.
Is there a second to that amended motion? Okay. Now we can discuss the amended motion.
I'll let someone else go.
Okay.
I said plenty last week, but the one thing that, Jeff, you kind of hit it on the head. We talk all the time about how we want Green Valley to be its own entity and we want to see it blossom and grow, yet we seem to be following other board procedures and the way they want their school districts to grow. And you mentioned that in the fact that Fort Osage gave their school board members access that morning, and by 2 o'clock in the afternoon, you had new drafted language. So I just really, if we are here for Green Valley and we are here for us wanting to be and stand out on our own, we need to stop following everyone else.
All right. Any other comments?
I have a question. So unfortunately, I was unable to be here at the last meeting, so as things evolved, I wasn't involved in that conversation. And so just for some clarification parts, on July 17th is when we first started talking about this issue with key cards, and it seemed to like just test the waters and see where we're at. And then on August 7th, it was information, and there seemed to be like, well, I don't need one. Well, I don't need one. Well, I don't know. Do we need to talk about this further? And it seemed really unsure. Then in addition to those 2 times that we had discussed it, it was my understanding that it was to central offices key card. And so can you kind of explain the intent of the new language that resulted in the action item on our last board meeting that then got it to all buildings, when the previous 2 times, like if we want to follow protocol, we have a certain number of readings for that thing. And yes, it morphs and changes. I just feel like it changed drastically from central office and purposes of our own convenience to then trust and verify. So can you tell me how we got to the action item language on our last board meeting?
So the action item language from the last board meeting was drafted by myself, and when we were discussing it, when I was discussing it with Dr. Welly and with, several other different board members, that is where we were headed, was towards the central office access. And the language itself was lended to, after reading it, to be somewhat vague. And in the last meeting, it actually came up to be much more refined. The question, I think, was asked, to what building? And I believe at that time, Dr. Welly had actually spoke up and said, well, it would give you access to all buildings. I didn't get a chance to go back and rewatch the meeting. That was my intent. And I had shared that with Mr. English as well, that I'm not quite sure how it went from just here to the whole thing, but if I remember, if I recall, that's kind of where that went. And then it just, we had additional conversations with Mr. Pollard and what was happening at Fort Osage, and it just kind of grew into, if it was going to be access, it would be access to all buildings, and that's where the language morphed from. to
And so
answer your
that really concerns me if we have talked about an item twice, and then, I mean, you said I had additional conversations with board members. None of those conversations were with me. I was unaware of the change to that, and then was very surprised by watching the meeting back. And so it brings me great alarm to know that conversations are happening outside of a public meeting that deserves to be on a public floor, and that's how decisions are made that we're being brought to. So I just find concern with that. So do you think that making those adjustments, like why would we not bring that to the table for everyone?
So I think we did. It was all aired out and talked about in the last public forum. It's being talked about in a public forum right here. And if we're just going to put things out there, then it was discussed in our last, board evaluation, or that things do get discussed between board members outside of this meeting. That's how we get things done and move things forward.
That is frightening if that's how we get things done and move things forward. We should move things forward when all of us are present.
That's what we're doing in this forum right now.
Okay. When you had mentioned Trust But Verify in the last meeting about us monitoring, can you help give me just an example on intent? Because you had then said, we're not enforcing, we're not policing, we're not, making any other supervision actions at that point. So can you explain to me what would be happening? Like any sort of example as to what you see the purpose of that is?
So in the moment, I did not have any examples. I was just giving an example of some of the thought process. I didn't really have this is an example of how we would use it or it would be used. I was just explaining some of my thought process of, how you move forward with, how I should say other organizations move forward. We don't give just blanket, approval of everything that happens. I mean, that's our job as board members, is to know what's happening, and just to rely on, I'm going to pick on Dr. Welly because he's our current superintendent, but just to fully, rely on one person's information that is being provided, I think is just kind of short-sighted.
That is how the policy is written, though.
Okay.
But so then if you're saying to just rely on Dr. Willie, then how would you, and I know you just said you don't have any examples, but I just don't, so like the things that we're approving and the policy we enforce and the things we evaluate and the things we listen to and all the reports that are given, I just don't know, like with the responsibility of the board, how that is further aided in being able to get in the front door. I don't know how you would check those things. Like, yes, it's our job to check those things. We look at that. We ask questions. We come prepared to meetings. We fully vet situations. We point out spaces in policies that don't have appropriate spaces and align to other things, right? Like, I feel like as a board, we're pretty meticulous with some of those things. And so I just don't know where that point switches to, I don't know what we would think we would find. So that's why I'm trying to understand that true intent. Like, what is the intent of being able to get in the doors?
Yeah.
And I'm looking at, like, I'm directing it to you. That's a question for everyone. Like, what is the intent? How does that help us as a board member? Because I don't currently understand how it helps us as a board member. So that's not just for you to answer. That's for anybody. Like, any ideas or how you would use this or what this looks like or what the intent is? Because like Lance, you had said in the meeting, you're like, well, I don't even know if I would really get one. Okay, then if you don't see the purpose in it, Like, why would we be doing it? Like, so that's why I'm just trying to understand the intent or what the ideas or rationale would be behind it. Like, what benefit does it serve? So that's my question. Jason, you look like you're thinking of me. Yeah.
That in the same way, I could ask you, why not?
Be-
Right?
Fair. Yeah, you could.
You could explain.
Well,
you could fully explain
go ahead.
the why not.
The why not is because we don't currently have it. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to
Just
cut you
because
off.
and just because we haven't.
Because we're
currently
not actually
doesn't
staff,
necessarily
though,
mean
Jason.
that
We're not staff. Staff have it. We don't. We've never needed it. Why would we need it? I'm following a doctrine that is like the least necessary. Like it's a security doctrine. It's the same that we would use with computers. What is the least necessary in order to do our jobs, to perform our roles? I don't know that we really need it to perform our roles. If you think we do, then that's the
Then I can
discussion we
have
should
a-
have.
And I can have an opposing view.
Fair.
Right.
All right.
Another question that I have is how, so it was voted on last time and the motion failed. How did it get, like, what changed to get it brought back up?
That'd be me.
Okay.
So because we were all in this situation,
Mhm.
and so two things happened. A, we weren't all here. So that was number one. Number two, I wanted to vet this out myself.
Mhm.
So I actually sought our legal counsel and asked about it. So because I was unfamiliar with, I wanted to know, I talked to MSBA for almost an hour.
Mhm.
They didn't have an answer. So then I talked to our legal person, and she gave me an email reply. After reading it and understanding, I'm kind of now in the boat where Jason aren't in place already.
Mhm.
Like, she was also unaware, had to do her homework, and came back and gave me all this. And I was like, okay, now that I'm educated on this, I'm okay with going through with the process because it's okay. We have these policies in place. We have parameters in place already. There's nothing wrong with having it, but a district can determine to give access to board members as long as we're following all these other things, whatever we want to put in place. But there's already policies that we already have in place that kind of give us parameters. So I was like, all right, it's not really in my now being educated on, like, there's no real harm in it, especially when we have all these things in place. So that's where I was like, it was a twofold.
So,
So I agree with what you said earlier. It was one of those, we discussed, and then all of a sudden, so I was like, okay, I'm going to do my due diligence, and I spent several hours of conversation and then getting an email and educating myself, and I was like, all right.
so you think there's no harm, but do you think there's a benefit?
Well, again, I'm going to actually say what he said. I can't think of, I mean, I vetted this. Like, I was asking all of these questions, and they were like, well, these are all the problems if you do something. I was like, I don't want to act on anything. It's a matter of, can we have it? And legally and from the MSBA, there's nothing saying you can't. So it was really a matter of, if we don't have a policy in place for key cards, we don't. So
Right.
in order to do something about it, we have to have it.
We
So
do.
that's,
We have one, but it just doesn't have anything to do with school board members
well,
or non-employees.
yes, that's,
Yep.
yes,
When you say we, you mean
the
the
school
school
board.
board.
But there was nothing, MSBA had nothing they could provide me. Because, I mean, I went through everything. I was like an hour and a half with them and probably close to an hour with our legal counsel. So that's where I'm coming at it with an education now to say, okay, if we have parameters in place, okay.
So I realize there's opposing thought on this, and I know that there's probably going to be that from time to time, and we may not be able to hash out all the this is this reason and that reason, and opposed to that reason, and we might not be able to, because it is something that, like has been said, hasn't been in place, and so there may be some things that we see yet that may come up and say, hey, this is one good reason why. I think that there could be and may very well be good reason for, if nothing more than just we have that ability. But again, some may be opposed to that. It's why we have this ability to be able to kind of hash out and then move forward based on the majority ruling. It's not that I'm upset with anything, but if there's a way for us as a ruling body to make sure that the responsibility that the community has given us to do our job well, then we want to be able to do that. And so what does that look like? I mean, we again may all have different thoughts on it, but I don't think we have to be upset about it.
Oh, yeah. When you bring up community, I think there was a thing that was mentioned, I think by you, is that the community was surprised that we didn't have access. And I think that is a pivotal moment to then educate and inform our role as a board. There was many people in the community that when I was elected was surprised I was still going to work my job. Like, we can all agree there's a lot of misunderstandings on what happens for board members. And I don't want those we are the ones that are constantly in it and doing the work. And it is, yes, we are representing our community. I just think that is, you just have to be delicate with that to have the community drive a thing like that is, I wouldn't want to drive a decision based on a misconception. I would take that as an opportunity to educate and inform. Here is our roles as school board members. Here are our parameters. And ultimately, when we went through our MSBA training, the biggest takeaway I had was we are here to hire and fire a superintendent. And so I just don't want us to get too far away from the true goal of really that piece of where our responsibilities lie without getting too far in the weeds. Because I think it does look like we're there to police or audit or inspect or those types of things. And we've done so much. I think this is what makes me nervous is we have done so much as a school board that we have so much to be proud of. We have put a levy, this school board put a levy on the ballot and increased taxes when they said no to the chiefs. Like, that is a huge win. And that shows the support of our community and where we're at in the things they believe in our school. And when we had the researcher come and tell us about our community and what they thought about our schools, like he said, ask for as much as you want because they love you guys, right? Like, that's the feedback we hear. And I don't want to, because it is easy, just like if you were on social media and there's 100 likes and one person that has a negative comment, I don't want to focus on those things and have those drive our decisions when we have so much to be proud of and so much we have built up. And support comes from our staff knowing that we have their backs. And I think we've showed that many times. And this makes me nervous to see that's why so in my mind, the intent looks like we're there to check up on you because we don't think you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. I don't think that is what the board has shown in their actions previously. I am afraid that is what it looks like with this decision. And I just don't want us to ruin that relationship with our staff. I'm seriously concerned about it.
So because I've vetted through this, what, considering our policies, how would we be a threat of that? But we're not allowed to do that as of now. And we can't even with it.
But I can do exactly what you're asking with the key card. I just have to push a button. I don't need a key card. I don't want a key card. I can push a button and just say, hi, Dr. Taylor, Dr. Smith available today? And walk in. Much better reception than if I just buzz myself in and I just show up. Or if I call and say, Mr. Myers, I wanted to come in and have a conversation with you. Is 3 o'clock okay? I don't need a card. I have a finger. And I am a community member who has the same, I should have to abide by the same rules, because if I'm there on my own, I'm not acting as a board member, I'm acting individually, and that's my issue.
Yeah, it's same here. To me, it's, it's a couple of key cards. There's some security implications there if somebody were to break into my car and get it, But in the big scheme of things, is it that big of a deal? No, probably not. My concern is that the whole way we came about this, it feels entitled, like we're putting ourselves above the rest of the community, and that concerns me a little bit. And I felt like the way it came about was just kind of dirty. It felt dirty to me because it was on the agenda and we talked about it and we agreed, okay, well, it's probably just Leadership Center on nights that we're going to have it here. And then it evolved, and we don't know how it evolved, but I felt like nobody could give me a clear understanding of why we were doing this other than, well, Big Brother can be watching. People can feel like Big Brother's watching. And I don't think that's the community and the tone and the environment, culture that we want in our district. So it's not so much the fact that I'm going to show up at one of our buildings as it is the message that it sends. And so I think I'm kind of echoing what Sarah was saying. It just sort of concerns me that we're sending that message when really we all know that at any time I could walk up to any building, push the button and say, hey, like Dr. Taylor said, can I speak with, Dr. Carroll for a few minutes? And they're going to let me in. They will. So I'm generally opposed to it. Do I think this is just a huge, horrible thing? No, not really. But I don't think it sends the right message, and that's why I'm concerned.
All right. Any other comments on the amended motion? Or the amendment to the motion?
Well,
Sorry.
roll call, that's all.
Okay. Yeah, so we have to approve the amendment.
Okay.
That's right.
So you want to,
Yeah.
you want to roll call the amendment?
Okay. So the amended motion reads as to authorize the superintendent to issue limited key card access to school board members after a criminal background check and approval at the discretion of the board president and the superintendent. The outcome of the background checks will be provided to the board recording secretary and the superintendent.
A violation of use will result in key card access being revoked for 12 months.
All right. Mr. Pollard. Mr. Williams. Dr. Taylor. Ms. Schwartz. Yep.
Yes to the amendment.
Mr. English.
Yes.
Mr. Scully. Yes. I'm a yes. Okay.
I think I have one last piece of discussion.
No worries.
For the
Yeah.
motion, now that the amendment is approved. For our policy that was discussed last time too, and I'm trying not to meld two, but I think they still match up. Volunteers for the district have to have the background check.
Correct.
We essentially are volunteers. We are elected, but we are volunteers. Can we, so even regardless if you wanted the key card or not, or whatever, can we use our volunteer Because like I volunteer for my kiddo. I already have one on file.
Me too.
Right. Like I think most of us probably do. So can we require, like, I get the point of putting, like, I didn't know if the background check was the caveat of the reason of the motion. So if that, because that's why I was like, well, what is the intent? Because if the intent is to get everyone to do a background check, we could follow that same procedure under our volunteer policy. And so that was that's my question. Like, most of us probably have that on file. We can stay current on those through using that policy. So that, I guess that's my question, is the background check the intent of like a way to get that done? Because I think you had mentioned that, like, since statewide, like
Right.
we can't help anybody that's running because we don't have power over that. But policy wise, we do have control over volunteers. And essentially, I mean, we're volunteers.
Kind of. We're elected, but we do choose
I
to
am
do this.
volunteering my time. Yeah, no, you're good.
Did you want to respond to her, and then just a quick follow-up question on that?
Yes, I mean, I don't know the caveat to how we could link board members to the volunteer policy to get a background check done.
No, we wouldn't be able to do that, but if I understand the question is, are we moving this way with key cards because we want to incentivize voluntary background checks
Well,
by board
that
members?
was part of it for sure. Was in an effort to try and get a background check done, it was a carrot stick type of a thing.
Are most of us registered volunteers with our schools? Like, so do we have that on file? Do we know?
But
Yeah.
but in the future, you don't know who's going to be sitting here.
Fair. But if that's our standard practice, we could then adopt that, right? If that's best practice that I don't know.
Yeah.
Either way, it's going to still be voluntary.
Right.
So the background check that we're going to have for a key card is no different than a background check for a volunteer, correct?
For a field trip,
For a-
correct.
So it's the
It's the same
same
thing.
system. So
It'll
the
be redone every
records
2 years.
would then be stored in the. So, I guess and I don't want to get too wrapped around the axles about the logistics, but in the motion, it basically says that the background check would go to the board secretary,
Recording secretary.
recording secretary,
And the
and
superintendent.
the superintendent.
And-
Are they
and-
going to print that out? And where is that going to be stored? And there's some logistics there. I guess my point is, that's my personal information now, probably my social security number and all that good stuff. I don't want that floating around too much. Is that stored in a system? And again, I don't want to get
Yeah.
too wrapped around the
Yeah,
axles about all this.
Currently, it
but-
would be in our third-party vendor that we use for that.
So that's secured somewhere
Mhm.
else. And
Yes.
so all you're going to get really is a pass
or fail.
type of thing. Okay.
I haven't seen a report, but members of my team, they're giving me a nod that that's what we see, is a
Okay.
pass or a fail.
Thank you.
So then it's not a decision that you guys make at this level, it's a pass-fail.
Correct.
So I think we all said,
The
we all voted?
the amended motion is now passed, or the amendment to the motion is now passed. There was still a question that was brought up about time. I don't know if we want to go back to that, like, when's the access? So,
well, I have two questions around time.
Okay.
When is the access? And then the other is around background check. How often do you have to do a background check? Is it once annually?
Every
Is
2
it
years.
Every 2 years? So it's
Two-
the same
yeah.
as the volunteer
that's
cycle.
unless we want to change it.
Okay. And then with time,
So we'll get to the time part of it. We have a couple options. We can leave it as part of the discretion of the board president and the superintendent, or we can link a time to it. So I can make a motion to amend the current motion to add, let's see. So I would look to amend the motion to read, authorize the superintendent to issue limited key card access to the school board members after criminal background check and approval at the discretion of the board president and the superintendent between the hours of 6 a.m. and 10 p.m. The outcome of the background checks will be provided to the board recording secretary and the superintendent.
A violation of use will result in key card access being revoked for 12 months.
There's a motion. We'll get to that in a minute. Need a second, or that motion dies. All right. Now you can ask your question.
Who made that motion?
I did. Well, the question was asked about time, so I put a time in.
Can I amend, I move to amend the motion, all those things that Jeff said, but the time be school bell hours? Like 10 p.m., like that's wild. Oh, I don't know if I really want to make it, this might be discussion still. I don't understand. So I would say it would make more function out, like nothing's happening in a school building at 10 p.m. unless it's an activity or a sport that we have spectators with that you would not need key card access for at that time. So I don't understand the time frame.
Well,
Mike.
hearing this correctly from what he said, and then if you guys have the approval of who gets in and when, you can dictate the hours as long as they're between 6 and 10. Am I
At the discretion, correct. The discretion of,
They make the call on the hours.
No,
Should
when
we
you,
be
Let's not
between
do
the-
that. Let's make the
when
board
you-
make the call.
when you, instead of saying limited, if you set the time, that's the time.
My question is, you're just going to ring yourself into the vestibule and stand there? Like, you can't go anywhere else.
That's true.
So, I mean, once again, it's not making sense.
If you only get in the front door, you can't get further.
And while you're in there, you've set off the alarm.
Oh, yeah, that'd be terrible. That costs money. That would be a violation.
So just going to throw
Yeah.
this out there. I don't
no
feel
problem.
super strongly about it, but what about like 30 minutes before school, 30 minutes after?
We don't necessarily have a receptionist 30 minutes before and after, yes. Sorry to interrupt.
It wasn't on green, so you didn't hear it.
Okay.
Okay. Any other discussion on that? No. Okay.
I'm sorry, I was in a side comment. What was that?
I just asked if there was any other discussion on that.
So we're still at, what was it, 6 to 10? Is that what you
That's what,
said?
that's
Okay.
what the amendment is right now, yes. Okay. Roll call vote on the amended motion?
On the amendment, yeah.
Okay. Mr. Pollard? Mr. Williams? Dr. Taylor? Ms. Schwartz?
No.
Mr. English?
Yes.
Mr. Scully?
Yes.
I'm a yes. Okay. Now, the new motion is, you ready for that? To authorize the superintendent to issue limited key card access to school board members after a criminal background check and approval at the discretion of the board president and the superintendent between the hours of 6 a.m. and 10 p.m. The outcome of the background checks will be provided to the board recording secretary and the superintendent.
A violation of use will result in key card access being revoked for 12 months.
Any additional discussion on that?
if we can't go anywhere in the building but the vestibule, what purpose does it serve to have a key card at 10 p.m.? Like, it makes zero sense to me. If it is not manned office hours, you can't get anywhere else in the building. So I just need it to make sense because it makes zero sense. You're just going to ring in and stand in the vestibule and set the alarm off?
I just put a timeout.
Well, I would like to make an amendment that it is during school off hours only.
All right. So you want to, amend it to be discretion of the board president and the superintendent between school hours and then the outcome of the background check. That's how you want it to read? Okay. Do you need me to reread it?
We have a side question here that I think.
Well, this is
Go
helping me
ahead.
with the hours. I'll use this one. Sorry. All right. So the school system for key card access, this building, since we are here after school business hours, is it a separate system than the rest of the buildings, or is it the same system?
They're all on the same system, but this building is key carded differently than the other buildings. In the other buildings, you use a physical key to get past the vestibule. In this building, it's key card access to get past the vestibule. So that's what's different.
That creates a question for me. So then, with you can program key cards to the parameters, like to only have certain access, like
Yes.
it's not.
And you
we
can do
would-
it differently building by building.
Yeah.
If that's what you were asking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? It can be tailored to the needs of the individual. So like if you have, for here,
From what he mentioned before, 6 to 10, I mean, it doesn't mean that we're all gonna have, I mean, that people are gonna go to Snybar, let's say, and check in or whatever. It does give us, it gives us the parameters for even here being able to check in, right? And then those key cards can be limited in different buildings if needed within that 6 to 10 range.
What if we just left the whole time thing out of the motion and left it at the discretion of the superintendent? And then we can, if that's a problem, we can fix it. Like if that becomes an issue in 30 days or whatever, we just bring it back up and discuss it. Like I don't know that we need to get that granular in the motion. I don't know how everybody else feels about it.
I concur
but
with you, but it was asked about the time, so I brought it back up.
I think it's important that we discuss it. I just don't know that that needs to be necessarily part of the motion. I think if it's at the discretion of the superintendent, like everything else, it's probably okay. Because I do think it's, this building, I think it's justified to have, until 10 o'clock at night or whatever, on Thursday nights or whatever night we come. But I don't know that it's necessary any other time. So I just think we're really getting into the weeds on it.
So are we in agreement then with that, Jared, that Dr. Welly will make the decision? So he's going to set the time for those key cards? Like,
I think we're trying to fix problems that don't exist at this point. Yes, I would just say leave it at the discretion of the superintendent. If the board is trying to access a building and they can't get in, well, then we got a whole lot of other questions to ask as to why they're trying to access the building at 10 o'clock at night. So I think that if we just say at the discretion of the superintendent and let him do his job, and then if we as a board are having issues getting into buildings, one, we know that a lot of board members are trying to get into buildings, and two, we'll know that we need to set time parameters as a group. Sorry. I think we're trying to put so much into one motion at this point that we either need to table it and get it right, which I don't think is an option for us, or we just push it through like it is. I feel like it's got enough controls in it to prevent abuse and just let it go.
So let me just use you as an example. Let's say that you try to get in the building at 6 o'clock. Let's say you're trying to get into the high school, 6 o'clock. Okay.
Mhm.
Can't go anywhere, can't
Right.
do anything.
Right.
So then does it become, because we're pulling and we're seeing who's trying to access the building, the question becomes, what were you doing in the high school at 6 PM standing in the vestibule? Like, that's, I mean, I just literally want to know because there's
Yeah,
nobody there.
like the only reason I would ever try to get into a building after hours is if my kid left their retainer there, in which case I'd just be stuck in the vestibule anyway, knocking, hoping that a janitor would hear me. And that gives me really no more access than anyone else at that point.
And what if a student were to open that door because they say you're a board member or you have a ID badge and that student allows you in?
Then I violated policy and you need to revoke my card for 12 months.
Okay, I just clarification for everyone who had questions who are not here. to
That's the
speak.
way I see it. Everybody else agree?
Okay. So we're removing the time. Okay. No time parameters. Okay. So the
You're
motion.
rescinding somebody's rescinding a motion, right?
Yes, I will
Okay.
rescind the amendment.
Amendment, thank you.
Yes. Okay. So the current amended motion is to authorize the superintendent to issue limited key card access to school board members after criminal background check and approval at the discretion of the board president and the superintendent. The outcome of background checks will be provided to the board recording secretary and the superintendent.
A violation of use will result in key card access being revoked for 12 months.
Okay.
I don't know if anybody had said roll call yet.
Mr. Pollard, Mr. Williams, Dr. Taylor, Ms. Schwartz,
No.
Mr. English,
No.
Mr. Scully, and I'm a yes. Okay. So with that, motion passes. All right. Does everybody need a recess for 5 minutes? All right, we're going to do a recess for 5 minutes, and then we are going to move to the next item on our agenda, superintendent search planning.
touch once and it's on. Now it's hot.
Are we good? Okay. All right, we will come back to order here, and I'd like to thank Dr. Coward from MSBA for being here, and we're gonna work on the superintendent search planning.
Got it. Thanks. Well, good evening. Thanks again. We are so excited from MSBA to be able to work with you. This is such important work. I can't say it any other way. And so we've got a few things to take care of tonight so we can get this process started. So these are just a few of the things that are on the agenda for tonight. So we are going to review the hiring timeline. So if you do have your phones or calendars, however you calendar yourself, have those ready. That's going to be important for us so we can get those dates down. We're also going to talk about the application line, the screening process, the interview, final interview process, how we want to handle that. We're going to have a conversation around the survey, which I did send to you all, and I hope you were able to open that. Dr. Woolley did share with me that he opened it on his phone, and it had some differences on fonts on the drop-down. So I've actually sent that back up the chain a little bit, so they're looking into that. I don't know if it's a matter of just opening it on your phone or what's going on, but we'll talk about that. What is not up there is also, I want to talk about some community forums. I think it's so important to get feedback on this topic. Salary and benefits, job posting, and then discussing of our processes. And so we just got a few things to take on tonight as we do that. So on some of these things that are in there, I think this one is important about advice from other boards. I think number 2 is important about be prepared to put in the time and the work because this is a lot of work. Yes, ma'am. You do not have electronic, but I gave you the sheet so you can follow along because I don't know about you, but I have to make notes on something this complicated as we go through. And so I want to have something I can go back to. You sure can. Yeah, absolutely. I apologize for that. Yep, we will get that sent to you. You can take care of that. But the ones that I starred were to be prepared to put in the time and the work because this is a process and it does take time. And please remember, it's 2 sides of a relationship. It's your side and it's the candidate side. And we'll talk about that a little bit more in depth too. I think the other one is trust the process. Today's world, we simply want to run ahead many times and feel like we need to go get specific information or I know something or whatever that's going to be. I think we can address that all through the process, and I think that should answer all your questions as we go through. And then the last one is just stakeholder involvement. You do represent your community, and I trust you with that, but it's also to hear their voice, and we'll talk about that more in just a minute. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this. I think you know your mission, your vision, and your values, so we won't spend any time on that. We don't need to do that. But we are going to have several meetings that you are going to have to be a part of. Today is a big one. The next big one that we will have will be when we come back to you with a report about the survey and the community feedback. I need you to hear that. And then we'll talk about the meetings after that around the screenings, the application process, and then the screening process itself, and then the final interviews. So we've got several meetings that we're going to be setting on that one. This is kind of a proposed timeline that I'd like to run past you right now to make sure it's okay with you. And so in this timeline, we would actually identify your new superintendent before your winter break. And so on this timeline, we would actually open the application period. We had it set for tomorrow, but it will probably be Friday if you want to know the truth. To get that out would be this Friday. And so that would be when the posting would go live on MSBA, but also all of the other sites. And the application period would stay open through November the 30th. The reason behind that is keeping it open past the Thanksgiving break. I wish I could say things about my fellow superintendents, but we tend to not have time to do those things, and that actually they have time. And so with any posting, a lot of those come in about that time. So that would happen. On December the 8th would be the date on your calendars, and we will start looking at these in just a second to make sure these work for you. That's actually a Monday where we would meet. This would be a closed session. And at that time, you will get all of the applications, and I'll explain a little bit more about that later to review. You would actually get them the weekend before, so you'd have time. But this would be the date that we would review all of the applications, and we would talk about that green, yellow, red that we talked about earlier. On Thursday, December the 11th, am I speaking enough? Yes.
And when you say the weekend before, meaning we would probably get the applicants on
on
like the 5th or
Friday-
6th of
Friday.
December?
Yes, on Friday. We would get those to you on Friday. I'm sorry.
On the 30th, they're closed. You guys still, on those final applications, vet the rest of them according to your scale and likings, and then give us, then on that gives you time to get up to us by the 5th.
Yes, the bigger time constraint on that one is actually building the summaries for you.
Right.
And so that's why we need a little bit of time in between there. We'd look at December the 11th. Those would be Zoom meetings, so you would meet as a board, just like you are right now in closed session. And the candidates that you want to screen would actually be Zoomed into you, and they would be 30-minute screenings, is how that would be handled. And then following that meeting, we would set up your final interviews. Yes, sir, Mr.
So,
Porter.
and one more point of clarification.
Sure.
The December 8th and 11th would be Zoom meetings in closed session.
December 8th would be in person
Okay.
here at the office, here at the district office. Also, December 11th, you would all be here on December the 11th. If Mr. Scully was available and he could join us, he could certainly join us by Zoom. That would be an option. We'll see. Fingers crossed.
And
You
then the
never know.
candidates would be via
The
Zoom.
candidates would be via Zoom. These are 30-minute screenings, and so you're going to have candidates from different parts of the state. So to ask them to drive in for a 30-minute screening seems a little much, but as the board, if it's what you wish, we can ask that of them. But this seems to be a much more efficient manner to do that.
And I don't mean to really push back on that, but I do a lot of Zoom meetings.
Mhm.
As you know, I work from home. They're great. Where I struggle though, to be honest, is if I'm in a group setting like this and they're on a screen, it's really hard for me to see and hear. Do we all need to be in one room together? Is there value in that?
There actually is value because at the end of that, we're actually going to discuss and decide who your next ones are going to be. So to have you all in the same room, that is the value.
Okay.
And for the screening too, I appreciate that question. For the screening, I would actually ask the questions so that you guys can actually concentrate on the candidate and their responses so that you can get the very best that you can. But I agree with you. Would I rather do everything in person? I'm an in-person kind of girl. That would be my preference. But when we're screening 6 or 7 candidates, that's a bit of a challenge.
Yeah, no, I get it. It's just when I'm in meetings at work, for example, and there's a group that's in a conference room and then several people that aren't, it just gets a little wonky sometimes. So I asked and answered. Got it. Thank you.
You're welcome. And then either the 16th or the 17th would be the formal interview date. And like I said, we'll go in more detail of these. I just want to know if these dates will work for your calendars. So let's go back and start. I'm not worried about the application period. I guess I am. Are you okay with that application period, and are you okay with finishing and announcing and having your finalists done before your winter break? Is that a desire of the board?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
We're good?
Yes.
Okay, we're good? Yes, it is. It absolutely is. It gives us actually time in order to get this out to all the different areas. And then, for example, tomorrow I will be at a massive meeting here in Kansas City, so I announce it to all those people there, be there with Dr. Welly. But all the superintendent liaisons across the state will also be doing the exact same thing. And then it gives us a chance to reach outside of the borders of Missouri too. So it gives us that opportunity. So it takes a little time. And sometimes, frankly, we have to have some conversations with some candidates in order to talk to them about why this would be a good fit for them. And so it does take that amount of time. December the 8th, does that date work for everyone?
I assume we're looking at evening time on December the 8th?
That is up to you. I would suggest the evening because
I was
these
gonna say,
people
can
are
I-
working.
Can I suggest the evening of December 8th?
I would say starting around 6 or something like that would be fine, 5:30 or 6, whatever's convenient for you.
And you had this on the previous slide, but this is on December 8th. This would be a meeting that is expected to take about 2 hours.
Yes.
And we like to talk. So I think we all know we
It-
can plan for longer.
Whatever time you'd like to start. I do think it needs to be in the evening just to
Yeah.
allow your candidates an opportunity. Most of them will be in, they're all going to be employed someplace. On the 8th, it's just you. Right. Yes.
Correct. Yeah. So-
What does early mean?
Is the 5:30 time frame, Dr. Taylor, what's your constraints? Do we just, instead of making it, I mean, do you want to just leave it at like 5:30? Is 5:30 better for you? Okay. Lance? You're good with that?
So that will
5:30?
be 5:30.
Mm.
Does that work for you, Doctor?
1 second, I think. Are we good? Okay, yes.
Okay.
5:30, December the 8th.
Yes.
Yeah, it'll
Yes, and it
be
will
a
be
closed
executive
session.
Executive session.
Yep.
Let's talk about
And we'll just mark it
the
off
actual
5:30
Zoom
to-
screening on December
5:30
the
to 8.
11th.
Sorry, we'll just do 5:30 to 8 on the 8th, just to be safe. Okay, what was the next one?
December the 11th. Again, this is when they will be Zooming in. I will send them invites and then just allow them in when it's their turn to interview. And so
And-
that really is up to you. So usually it's around 6 to 7, no more than that,
Candidates.
candidates.
And you lock the time frame down to 30 minutes?
They are locked at 30 minutes, and then we give you a few minutes to discuss at the end of each one of them. Yes, you get about 10 to 15 minutes, and then there'll be a discussion at the very end too. So, yes.
45 minutes per.
Mm-hmm.
45 minutes times 7 would be the maximum, yes.
Plus the discussion at the end.
Well, 45 minutes, he was including that. Oh,
Yeah,
at the very end of the
there's
night.
15 per, and then at the very end.
Yep. Just get lots of rest before the meeting, so yeah.
It's a long evening.
Yeah.
It is a long evening. I'm not going to,
Again, so what's the
Sugarcoat it any other way.
earliest we
It's
could
a long evening.
start?
Yeah, what's the earliest we can start if we're asking candidates?
I would say 5 would be the very earliest you could start.
Dr. Taylor? I don't want to rush you. It's really all about you.
I'm
So-
sure they'll be perfect right before the
So again, are
Christmas
we- I
break,
mean-
I'm sure.
Wild times.
5 o'clock?
Everybody's good at 5?
We will
No.
begin at 5 PM. Yes, ma'am. Closed session.
Ten 10:30 to 11 p.m., yes.
We'll
Okay,
work on a meal and a snack. How's that? Yes. We can do
so
that.
5 p.m.
Yes.
start.
And again, if you choose to screen less, then,
Yeah,
I mean, you have some control over this.
yeah.
You do have some control.
If we limit our applicants, the time goes down. Okay, 5
then-
p.m. on December 11th.
Right. And then December the 16th or the 17th. And the preference would actually be that this would occur during the day. So this would require some time off.
Yeah.
Yes.
Is there, anyway,
Okay, then it's moved to the evening. It's okay. And we can come back to these after we go through with a little more detail if we need to come back to these and make some adjustments. That's what tonight is for.
They don't hit my actual calendar.
So these would be in-person interviews. Closed session. 3 would be your max, is what I
Yeah.
would
3
say.
final candidates?
You need to have 3 finalists, yes.
And how long per candidate?
At least 1 hour per candidate.
How long do they typically go? 1 hour?
1 hour.
That's it?
That's the time with the board, yes.
That's
Very
a big
specific.
decision to make with only spending 1 hour with them.
Well, you'll have a lot of information about them. You're going to know a lot about these candidates. You're going to know a lot after the screening. You're going to know a lot from their applications and from the background information we give you. You're going to have a lot of information.
Okay. So then we're looking at the,
So what you're saying is if you can't start till 5:30, then I guess my question is, do we need to look at a weekend or a Saturday to do this? I think that because of time, otherwise, if you have one at 5:30, then you wouldn't have the other one until 6:45 because you'd want a little gap between them.
right.
So that would go to 7:45. So the next one would be, your last one would be at 8 o'clock that night, which is fine.
If you guarantee you could be here?
Say that again, I'm sorry, ma'am.
If she guaranteed she could be here by
3:30.
4, but she'd try for 3:30.
It's
is
up to
that-
you. You all
Is that
decide.
something,
I think that would be better from the candidate side point. I don't know where they're going to be coming from.
Well, and here's the other thing too. We're carving out the time now to make it the priority so that we can plan.
Yes.
Not ideal, but if something changes, we can possibly update or tweak that time, or no? Are we locked in and we don't change it?
We're
You know
not locked in, but the candidates are going to want to know what the schedule is going to be and what they need to expect. So my guess is if they're the superintendent or the assistant superintendent at XYZ school, they're
Right.
probably taking the day off of work to come here to do that,
Yeah,
yes.
okay. So do we have a preference on the 16th or the 17th, and we would start at 4 that day?
I can make either day work.
The 17th is a Wednesday.
That's what I was worried about. 16,
16th
that's what
is preferred.
Okay.
This is
Can
cool.
everybody else make the 16th work?
At-
Yes?
And at what time?
And we're saying 4 o'clock?
Yeah.
We can make that work? Okay. 4 PM on the 16th to start.
Final
Right.
interviews.
And we'll talk about the process here in just a little bit too. So that may, when you get there, you may go, let me think about that again. It may be different. So let's walk through this just a little bit about what you got going on. I want to talk about the survey that you have that was sent to you. And that is the starting point for us. I think you had a chance to go through that. It is divided into some areas. One is what's the professional attributes that we are looking for? And so what does your community think are the professional attributes that we're hearing? And then what are the personal attributes that are out there? The other piece that I think is really great is what is good right now about Grain Valley? What do we like? What are the areas we can improve? And then honestly, probably my favorite part is what's the advice you would give the new superintendent? And every one of those comments is given to whoever is selected as your new superintendent, because they need to know what the voice is being heard. What we're looking at right now, just so you know for your calendars, we would like to start that survey actually next week on September the 11th. And I'd like to go for 2 weekends, and it would go through the 22nd. Doesn't require anything for you, just requires some stuff from me. But I just want you to know the time frame.
On that survey, there are 2 different ways to get to it. And at the top of the link, it says Grandview, R2, Home of the Eagles.
Right, that was just an example that we were sending out to you so you'd have it. It will all be corrected so that it's
Okay, so then because then the tiny URL at the bottom of it
says Grain Valley.
says Grain Valley.
Right,
But they didn't look different otherwise, like it was the same questions.
they are the same questions.
Okay, okay.
It is the same questions. you can. We haven't done that in the past, but we can. I don't know what other questions you might want to have. Yeah, that's absolutely always an option.
You said the superintendent that we end up selecting
Mhm.
would see the answers of all of these?
They will see the one of, what advice would you give the new superintendent?
Okay. And then I assume we would have access to these results, but then you guys really truly curate them for us?
Both.
Okay.
And I will actually come back to you in November and present to you the results of the survey.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to recommend to you that besides the survey that we do, that there will be a report that comes back to you. So you'll get that full report. So what were the key themes? What did we hear? What was going on? But I think this next one is probably the most important one, in my opinion, would be that we would hold some community forums, because I'd like to hear from your district leadership team. I'd like to hear from your principals. I'd like to hear from whoever your teachers, whoever represents your teachers groups. I'd like to hear from, and I can work with Mr. Porter and Dr. Welly and your communications people to identify which of those groups do we want to listen to. Your district is, I don't know that, is there a Green Valley Chamber of Commerce? I don't know that one. So I usually reach out to the chamber and say, are there some business people that we could speak to? Because what we do is, what the survey does is provide us the key themes. So what are we really looking for? And so we identify what those key themes are. Then we go to the community and say, either what did we not ask, or what can you tell us more about this? For example, if they say, we want somebody that's a great communicator, what does that mean to you? What are you really trying to tell us? Let's put a little meat on the bones here so that we actually understand, and it really does help us drive what your interview questions are going to be. That really is what the help is for us when we go ask the community. I would also recommend opening it up in the evening at one of your schools, and we would host a forum that is open to your families to come in. We'd ask them the exact same questions we've asked all during the day to all the different groups. And so that really does give us a full view. Not just the survey gets us the high level, gets us the key themes, but then the forum really gives us the real information, what we're looking for. And we have found that to be extremely helpful.
And you had said previously that these forums would be either all in one day or maybe 2 different days, but
Yeah, it's pretty easy to do them all in one day. If I can do a district of 20,000 in one day, I'm pretty sure we can do Green Valley in one day. It's just a matter of scheduling. And so I would actually work with probably Dr. Welly around the administrative team and the principals, and then reach out. I don't know, are you union represented? Are you NEA, MSTA? Yeah, both. Great. Most schools do. So we just meet with them. And actually, because they're teaching, I would probably meet with them on Zoom the next night so that we can I want to hear from them and what are the characteristics they're looking for and what's important to them. And then, again, finish it up with your parents that evening and pick one of your schools, or even if we need to pick 2, we can do it at 2 of the different schools.
and board members would, we can come, but we probably wouldn't come just so people can be open with their communication.
True. It's open.
Yeah.
So however you guys would like to do it.
Well, I think that is one that you had suggested
Mhm.
us not attend that one. So, or was
You
that the
don't-
one that
Yeah, you're certainly welcome to.
right?
But I also, I
want
don't want to
people
do
to
anything
speak
that
freely.
would limit the conversation, let's put it
Right.
that way. I want them to be free to speak.
Mhm.
And what we try to do is actually get every voice in the room, not just the loudest voice in the room. And so we actually have some processes we use for that. Sometimes we'll use, if you're in education, we use a thing called a World Cafe where they go around, but we're very specific about making sure we identify what are the key things that we keep hearing? What's happening from our parents versus our teachers versus your administrative staff that would be important for you to know and help guide your decisions? Because literally, we will take all that information, and that will develop our screening questions, and then at a deeper level, will really help identify your final interview questions. Yes, sir.
So you mentioned administrators, you've mentioned the teachers' unions,
Mhm.
but we also have other staff members out there.
Love to hear your
that-
classified,
so
absolutely, would love to
Make
have
sure
some.
that we go deep and
Mhm.
get into the organization.
Absolutely. And again, with your permission, I'd just work with Dr. Welly to identify those groups and try to set those up if I could. I'm looking at doing those around October the 7th, 6th or 7th is where I'm looking at, because we'll have the survey, so we'll have that information back. And then we would do the forum in order as I said earlier, put a little meat on the bones. Really want to understand what's going on. And then actually coming to you, I believe your board meeting is, when is that one? November, I want to say, I have it on my phone, November 16th, does that sound right for you guys? Is that the first one would be the 6th, so probably November the 6th. Come back to you on November the 6th and share with you the findings of the survey and the forums. All that would come back to you.
Oh, and then you will be working with Dr. Willie, and Dr. Willie, I assume, would work with our communications director.
Absolutely. I'm so excited about your new communications person.
Pump all
Absolutely.
of that stuff out and try to get that everywhere.
Right.
to really
We
tune
would
it up.
always suggest on your home webpage that you actually have just a part that says, this is the superintendent search, and here's the timeline, and here's when the next things are coming up, and we can work on flyers to push that out to them so that your community knows what's coming up. And so that would be an important piece, yes. That's a very
That would be-
vital person to our success, yes.
Right, great to add to the website and kind of have it updated where we're at in the process for sure, and the timeline. Isn't live yet. Okay.
And it's just key for the transparency for the board to the community, that this is the steps we're doing. So yes, we are going to survey you, but yes, you have an opportunity to come talk to us personally and tell us what your thoughts are. So we want to have that. Then we're going to share that. And so the board, the community can hear all that on November the 6th. What's the feedback? The other people that will hear that will be your candidates. They'll be very attuned to those dates. And so it really gets us there.
Like a one pager or something.
It's a multiple page, yes.
Well, no, I just mean something that says, stakeholder surveys this day, community
Yes.
engagement,
I-
this day. Just something that could be
Mhm.
just posted out there with like the QR code and all that. Just
Right.
one page type of a situation.
As soon as Dr. Welly and actually Cameron Porter and I can talk and identify what that needs to be. But yeah, it just sets up what those dates are
Yeah.
going to be so we can understand what they are.
Okay.
I'll need their help with, for example, for the community, which building do you want to go to? I want to work with them about, do we need to have any of your English language teachers there in order to assist with anything? I think the other thing that's important, you probably noticed on the survey, is that because it's in a Google form, it can be done in any language. So used to, we had to ask, what's your dominant language, and we'd put it in just that language. It's any language, so we should be able to hit all of your stakeholders. Should be a good piece. Looking to do that either, and we'll work together on that, let you know, but it'll be either October 6th or 7th on that Monday or Tuesday. For the forums, the results will come back to you November the 6th. Yes, that's our goal. Okay. Did want to talk about just this candidate recruiting, and I think it goes back to a great question that was asked over here. Do you need that much time? Yes, you do, in order to get the word out, to have these conversations. And people want to do their research on you. And so it'll be a matter of, they'll be watching all your board meetings. They're probably already watching now if they have an interest. They already know it's open since Dr. Willie announced his retirement, so they know they're going to have to be a replacement. So that will be out there, but also all the other national locations and pieces that we have, plus just those other contacts we have. I've already reached out to colleagues that I have on the Kansas side, in Iowa, and then up into Illinois and Chicago in that area too. So we start reaching out and start moving those processes. And so we hope to have internal and in-state and out-of-state. And so it just takes us a while to do all those. I do need to talk to you about the draft job posting. I know that's too little for you to see. So draft, and again, this is why was not sent out electronically first, because when people see this, they think that's the facts, and there's a lot of things on this page for us to discuss. And so we will clarify this. That's why it'll probably be Friday before this is posted. So let me walk through that. The other piece that we will talk about is on the backside. I provided you the salary comparisons. I hope I made that one bigger, so hopefully you can see that one. It's a little bit easier to see the comparison side, and you need more data. I have that with me, so we can do that too. So the job posting literally tells them a little bit about the district. And then Dr. Welly will correct me if I've got anything wrong in that little box that talks about the number of school buildings, the number of students that attend, the number of certified staff, the district budget, your levy, your debt service, all those type of things. And so, like I said, if there's any corrections I need to make here, we can make those, and that's what tonight is for. One of the biggest ones that we need to talk about is compensation. And so we always want to put a range out there of what the compensation is being. What we originally talked about, looking at the comps in the area here, would be, and then your past history of your superintendent salaries, would be to post it for a range of $180,000 to $225,000. There's so many things that play into these data points that you're seeing, and I want to point out that on the back side of this, on the salary range, that's from 2024. That's the latest data you can get from DESE. The 2025 data is not quite there yet for them. And as you look through some of these, part of what drives some of these is the longevity of the superintendent in that position too. So there's all sorts of different things, but we want to give you some wiggle room so that you have some room in order to make the best choice. It may be an assistant sup, it could be a setting superintendent, it could be a lot of things.
And just for reference, like the Belton superintendent,
Dr. Underwood has been there for a long time.
yeah. So that's not a 1 year,
That's not
2 year superintendent, just so
Right.
you know.
He's been there for an extended time. So it's like with any position, it would run the same way. So I guess my first question for you is, do we have the correct range? I've received some feedback that maybe it should be considered to be 180 or even 190 to 230. What are your thoughts and what is your preference?
Yeah, I think bumping it that 10,000 is probably going to be more accurate, and probably pulling maybe a few different candidates. So like going from 190 to that 230 or 235. Again, it's just a range. We don't have to give.
This is just a range, but this is what, when people look for a job, this is their,
Decides whether they apply or not.
it
I
does.
would agree with you that to bump it up to that 190 to 235. I would
Okay,
be-
perfect.
Now, I also say that with what I would approve. I mean, how that financially works out.
Right.
What are the other thoughts on that? Does that seem reasonable to you? Sustainable? So we'll go with compensation 190 to 235K is how we will post this job. Let's talk about the one underneath that, on your contract. Most contracts are initially, they're 3-year contracts. I do see 2-year contracts. I've been made aware that in the past, this district has done a 1-year contract as the initial contract.
I'm not aware of an initial superintendent contract of 1 year for us.
Okay, so what we've done with the initial engagement contracts was that, how was that done previously?
Oh, okay, so we've hired quite a few new principals in
Okay.
recent years. And so what our practice has been is if you are new to the role, your initial contract administratively is 1 year less than it would be at renewal. So our building level administrators have 2-year contracts, so their initial contract's a 1-year contract. Our cabinet level is a 3-year contract, so the initial contract is one less. So it's usually a 2-year contract initially, and then when it gets extended, it's eligible for up to a 3-year extension. That's been our practice.
And that's the contract that you sent me to. I have a copy of that contract, and it was a 2-year initial contract to do. So would you like to go with a 2-year initial contract, or would you prefer to go with a 3-year contract?
And can you just explain your thought process between the two before?
Sure. On the 2-year, on a new superintendent, one of the services you'll get from us is about the superintendent evaluation. And we recommend 18 months on that because you're going to hire them in July. So in January, you don't even have data points really. And so you really need a year to a year and a half in order to do that. So that's your first year, and that would be your first 2-year contract. It goes by pretty long. It goes by fairly quickly, I would say. I'd say a minimum would be the 2-year contract. You're asking people to move their families and to move their lives. And for a position that's very difficult, I'll just say that. My preference would be, if I were looking at this, would be the 3-year contract. However, I understand there's been some things that have happened around this area and around this state. I think I can say that out loud, and that's concerning to people because I've signed this contract and now we're on the hook for paying this. So it can go either way. It can be an initial 2-year that would be renewed no sooner than the 18th month evaluation. You can do it that way. Or you can do a 3-year. However we can set it up either way you want to. You had a question, sir.
I do. Do we need to make that decision now, or is that a tool that you use during negotiation?
You need to make the decision now because this is what will be posted on the job. This is what the contract's going to be.
So we can't put like 2 to 3 year. We have to make a decision that it has to be a 2-year or a 3-year.
I would prefer that you do make a decision if you want to do a 2 or a 3. I understand where you're coming from on a negotiation piece. If it's somebody that you want, which message do you want to send would be my question for you. And I think it's fine, you can do either one.
Do you think going to a 2-year contract versus a 3-year contract changes the application pool?
I do. But that's part of the challenge of being on the board. It is a hard part, it really is. However, I will speak, the other piece that's important is for your district, is for continuity. One of the hardest things on a district is if you're constantly changing your leadership roles. And I will say this with all the love in my heart for you, but you guys are the most unstable part of the organization because you're bored and you can change every April. And every time that board changes, it changes within the organization. So as much stability as you can provide for your district and for your students and for your staff is huge. So I can support you either way, but I think we do need to make a decision on that. I'll let you guys discuss it.
My thought is 2-year. I understand all the benefits of 3-year, but the reality is we're going to get a couple hours with this person, and that's it. It's not really an opportunity to get to know them. We'll learn a lot about them through the application process, but I really don't know that I can get comfortable with someone and if they're going to be able to continue to drive the culture that we want as an organization in just a couple of meetings. So I totally understand 3 years, but I'm more comfortable with 2 personally.
Anybody else care to share their thoughts?
Of the superintendent openings that you've dealt with in the past, what's more common, 2 or 3 years?
3.
Like, is it the vast majority?
The
3
vast
years?
majority is 3. However, based on what you have seen with the buyouts that have occurred, some boards are moving to 2. I totally understand that one. It's not the majority of your contracts that you see, it's just the ones that make the news.
Can I ask you your thoughts? You don't have to share. I'm
Initial,
This is the initial contract.
This would be the initial contract, that's
and
correct.
then
This
we
is
can
the first
determine from
contract you're
there
giving.
whether-
Correct.
And then
where it
we
goes.
determine, yeah.
where it goes from there. So
So like,
I think I would agree that a 2-year initial contract, and I get that it might change the pool, but somebody that wants to come to Green Valley, which is what this organization, this community, this culture, are going to be willing to come that 2-year trial with the hope that they can convince that they can be here long term. So I think they regardless. So I would lean towards the 2.
Yeah, I understand the attractiveness of a 3-year. The magnitude of the decision feels more comfortable with a 2-year. So that's, and the other thing too, like, it's our responsibility as a board, trying to also think about a candidate. And like Jason just said, somebody that wants to be here. But we potentially are asking somebody to take a pretty big risk, especially with the search and how large we're doing it to move a state or those types of things. I understand people wouldn't want to do that for something that didn't seem secure. So I want to keep the candidate in mind to be aware of that. But yeah, I definitely see the point of the 2-year. I think I feel more comfortable with that as well.
Yeah, what they said.
So we're going to go with a 2-year initial contract?
I think so.
Do you have any
You have an
preference
opinion?
on that, or? I'm just thinking, like.
Yeah,
what-
I mean,
What if it's a known quantity and we have the option for a 3-year?
well, I guess that's a question.
We're talking. you
So,
had
I
mentioned
mean,
an
what's
internal
being,
candidate.
what's being presented on the job posting is a 2-year contract. But once it comes time to contract, depending on who the candidate is and if the feelings of the board have changed,
Mm-hmm.
it's our will to offer a 3-year contract, we still have that flexibility.
So I'm trying to think, if I'm the candidate that didn't apply,
And I think, so,
that's all,
I'm
I'm
gonna,
trying to think of both sides here.
and I
of
think
what's going on.
I think Jared, you had asked about like a range, like 2 to 3-year contract. Well, initially it was no.
We can do whatever we want, let's just be honest. That language is, initial 2 to 3-year contract, I think is fine. I think just leave it like it is and let you guys make some decisions. I'm fine with that. If it's not okay, here's what I will do. I will reach back out to Mr. Porter, because I want to check with legal counsel to make sure. Because I
Well,
don't want
think-
to put you in that
I mean,
position.
I think as a group, I think the majority has said that a
It's a-
2-year contract. So if the language of a 2 to 3-year contract is not okay,
Then we'll just go with the 2.
we are going to revert back to a 2-year contract.
Perfect.
Yeah. I think where I was going is, if we can't meet somebody's salary requirement, but we can offer them 3 years as opposed to 2, that it just gives us more flexibility. But
does.
If it's not an option, it's not an option.
Here's what I found in this life. Everything's an option.
Everything's negotiable.
Everything is negotiable. So we want to give you that part. I do want to talk about, as you read through there, it talks about a comprehensive benefits package. And so in reading through the current contract that you have, remove the salary range, hang on. On insurance coverage, right now, it just says you will buy, the district provides insurance for the superintendent, is what it currently says, so it doesn't say anything about family. Doesn't really say anything about dental or vision. And so that's a no, that you do not offer that. You do not offer a tax shelter annuity or a 403B plan that I read in the contract, correct? Straight salary, correct? There is no cell phone allowance.
Did that change?
Did that, is that,
It's a stipend for all that need it. So there is a cell phone.
how much is that? Do you know off the top of your head, Dr.
We
Wells?
go $60.
Is that per month?
50 a month. 50 a month.
Are you recommending that that be changed?
I'm just trying to understand first what you've got, then we can talk about it. Yeah, I just want to,
All the
And-
coverage is the same.
and I know you do indemnify the superintendent in their role as superintendent, so he is protected on indemnification. Professional dues, do you cover any professional dues at all?
Correct, yes.
Yes, is there
Yeah,
a number?
And it includes national AASA, which comes with it, some other liability protections.
Okay,
So that's all cabinet level positions have that.
okay. So that's yes, okay. And then I think the other question would be, would you be willing to do any relocation assistance if the person had to move at a distance? Will there be any relocation assistance you would like to provide?
What do you
So some
typically
districts
see?
have done, they've set a cap, they said up to X number of dollars, and then you must turn in, get 3 bids, turn in your lowest bid, go with that, and that's what you would be reimbursed at. You don't have to do that, because you may not have anybody that needs to be relocated. But if you want to put that out there as something that's in the contract, or in the benefits, you can certainly do that.
Market average 10 to 20,000 for relocation expense?
It's a little higher, yes, it is, but most boards are not willing to quite spend that I know. The ones that I've spent, they've been anywhere from 3,000 to 7,000, depending on the size of the district. Almost every district. Certainly not required.
They,
Yeah.
So how long do they have to relocate to the district?
They will
Well-
start July 1.
So they have to be
They have to be,
relocated to the district on.
Well, so that's one of the things I think
that's
we're
coming up.
gonna, we're gonna talk about.
That's coming
So,
up.
from a relocation standpoint, what we had talked about was sometimes just the superintendent himself would move, and the family, if they're in school somewhere trying to finish, they might finish and then relocate
Sure.
after. So, I mean, there's some caveats to how long they have to move.
Okay.
We have the advantage too of the fact that we're hiring somebody essentially, hopefully in December.
Yes, you do.
So that works to our advantage of getting them here by July 1. They
And
can
here's the
plan
thing we can do too.
appropriately.
You don't have to make that decision today. We can make that decision based on if they're coming in. But I want you to be thinking about, if you have an external candidate coming in, would you want to offer them some type of relocation expenses? It wouldn't necessarily go in the posting.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I would say yes.
I
That would be
say
my
yes.
my stance
Okay.
on it is yes, we would, but that's me.
To be determined.
Right.
That's fine. Because candidates will ask. I will get phone calls, Catherine will get phone calls, Linda will get phone calls from candidates, and they're saying, well, what about this? Are they going to cover this? And so we want to make sure we're giving them most accurate information. Because the last thing I want to do is bring you a candidate that you guys are going, this is awesome, and they're going, well, no, I need a 403B, and I need family insurance, and I need this thing. So let's don't do that. Let's be upfront and honest, and let's make sure everybody's on the same page.
And
The other
again,
top-
trying to make this, or let's just go through your questions, then we'll talk about what options we have.
Yeah, and the other one is just about residency. You guys don't really have a residency policy in working with Dr. Welling. So some districts require residency within the district. Some say they have to be within 10 minutes of the district. I'm working all sorts of different things on
Yeah.
that one.
And we don't have any,
There is no policy, correct, sir?
Correct. I've always operated with the understanding or the encouragement that I would live within the district, especially if you're in a taxing situation where you're, putting a levy to the community. So it's always been encouraged for the superintendent, but it has not
Right.
been pushed in
and I think that's what you and I had talked about was.
Right, it
I
is.
thought that's what our process was encouraged, but we
Right.
didn't have anything.
And we just put in the must be within 10 minutes of the district because they might live in Blue Springs, but I want them to be able to get here.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I struggle with that. I think it should be,
A resident
I
of.
think it should.
I
be
don't
a resident.
disagree with
I
you.
think it should be
I just know what it is currently, which is nothing.
Right, right. Yeah, but I just, before this goes
Yeah.
out, maybe we should, or maybe it won't be before this goes out, but we should probably put that in
Talk about it,
policy. Yeah.
because
do we?
I'm not,
Let's just pursue it.
I
Okay.
agree with you in the fact that I think they should, but I would prefer that they choose it because it says something about
Well, just because they live in the school district doesn't mean they live in Green Valley.
right, but I would like,
I was gonna say,
that's
yeah,
just me.
boundaries.
I wouldn't like to force it. I would prefer them choose it. That's just my
Well, and again, I think devil's advocate to that. If they're interviewing for the job and accepting the job, they are choosing it.
So the only caveat we could say to that is live within Green Valley School District.
Correct.
You can just say residency required, or you can say residency preferred, goes back to what you were saying. So there's two options for you there.
Then at least their property taxes would be going towards the district which they work in, if they were within Green Valley School District.
So are you thinking residency required?
Jared?
What do you guys think?
Well, I would prefer it in theory and in practice, I suppose. My only concern is if someone applied for this role and they were in a local community, but not Green Valley School District, and we hired them, I would love the flexibility to be able to say, okay, like, let's say they have a senior. Okay, you can, next year,
Right.
we need you to move into the district.
Well,
It
and I
doesn't
think
have to
that's
be by-
part of some of the other questions down here is how soon do we expect them to make that
Yeah,
transition?
so-
If it is someone local or,
Right. So, but my expectation is certainly that they live in the district, doesn't it?
it's just a matter of timing.
Yeah, right.
If you were to set it in policy that the superintendent will reside in the district, you can still act to provide flexibility given the situation. So the board can say, either in contract language or otherwise, policy is this, you have 18 months to make it so, based on your interaction with your new superintendent. So
So
you can always come back and do that.
as long as I'm just trying to figure out, making sure that the board any board moving forward has flexibility. Do we need to put it in policy or do we just need to have it in the contract?
You can do it just contract, because contract would be binding.
That way we don't need to change our policy and the expectation via contract is you're going to live within the Green Valley School District within X amount of time. We can then, we don't have to change the policy every time we,
So how would you state that? Residency, just residency required, just be done with it? That's fine.
it can come up in a question.
Well, and it may come up I had one situation where they actually lived out of the district by 1 mile. They had to sell their house and move in the district. So, it does happen. So, these are things that happen. Obviously, you want them to have a certification, please. Let's have a licensed certified person here. You deserve that one. The other ones are just preferred strong academic performance background. I'm assuming that's important to you. Relatable, communicator, and good community engagement skills. It's just general things that are out there. And then the rest is just about the piece that we have. So, anything else on this page? So we're gonna
Oh,
update
we
the,
passed that.
the compensation. My apologies.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Do we want to go back up on the qualification side?
Sure.
At least 3 years of successful school leadership experience.
That can be at the district level, so an assistant superintendent position, any of those things that are at that level. Or do you want, it can say superintendent experience, but that, again, limits your pool. So
Are there
that's
any-
why successful school leadership can be a lot of things. It gives you some wiggles.
Okay, everybody's good with that?
You guys good with that one?
Okay.
And we're going to leave the contract like it is right now. The rest is just those dates that are just general.
Just
Those
for
are just
conversation piece, something that we had spoken about in the
Mhm.
question, one of the questions that came up was whether a doctorate would be required or
Oh,
not.
I apologize for that, yes.
Is there any thoughts? My original thought was not necessarily. I think, it's
You
one
can
of
put
those
that
things
under
that can be-
preferred, if you would like preferred. So,
And the only reason I said not necessarily was, again, just working with other districts. I know not all superintendents have their doctorate. So again, just limiting pool, you don't have to hire anybody that doesn't have it, but
I think if this is our educational leader, that they should have a doctorate, if we want to say preferred. But to be honest, like that definitely is going to sway my perception as if you have a doctorate or not, because you're a leader of an educational institution.
my only 2 cents on preferred is they may be in process. Getting your doctorate doesn't happen in just a year or 2. Takes a little time. And so as long as they are ABD, there's lots of things that could be happening on that. So I think, so we'll leave it as preferred, doctorate preferred. I will add it as
it's
under
nowhere
preferred.
yet.
It's in nowhere.
Yeah.
Font is small.
I'm so sorry.
Okay, I just wanted
Was
to
there
make sure
anything else that we missed? Obviously, we had a very long conversation about all this thing, so I'm just trying to make
I
sure we
think
didn't
that
miss
was-
anything.
No, I think that was it.
I think those were the big pieces that were there. Okay? We have some other big things. So we did talk about the salary comparisons, you have that. So I think we're fine on that. Do you have any questions about these salary comparisons? I see a question.
This is silly, but my name is misspelled on the front of
It's
this.
fixed on the more one. I saw that one on this one. If you have
Okay.
2 A's, we'll get rid of your second A,
Thank
yes.
you. 3 A's total, but.
Well, you can't have, when you're an A student, that's how it works. So that will be corrected. I saw that too. Anything else we missed that needs to be corrected, we can take care of. And Dr. Welly, if there's anything on the stats that need to be updated, please let me know.
Yep.
I will see you. I'm not
We'll
too
run
worried
through
about
all those.
Yeah, we'll just double check. And by the way, the links down there will actually take them to the Board of Education page where it says click here. And at the top where it has the Grain Valley, it takes you to your district website. So those are all automatic. We do want to talk about transparent communication because I think that is key to this process. We want the public to know what you're doing and the timeline that you're doing it and how you're doing it. And so we've talked about the stakeholder survey, the process and all that pieces that we're having and the updates, the press releases that you'll want to have, and then I'll work with your communication. They want to do a video introducing your new leader. It's always a nice touch to have that out there. And so I think just having that out. I think we do need to really talk about what is confidential information and what is not, just a little bit, and I think that's a hard thing in today's world. Everyone feels like they have a need to know right then and right there. And I will share with you what our process is that you would get actually weekly updates. And what you would get would not be the name of Aaron Scully has applied for this position. You would actually get the number of applicants that have applied, how many have completed, and how many are in process. And you would get that on a weekly basis. And so that would actually look like a letter like this that I would send to either your board president or your board secretary, and then they would just communicate it to all of you so that everybody gets the same exact information at the exact same time. I'm a big believer in that as we do that. So it just says, here's the number you've gotten, and this is what we've received, and this is what we're looking for. Okay. Yes, sir.
I'm totally good with that, but numbers without interpretation aren't always helpful. Will there be any other assessment like, hey, and that's, you're on target, meets
Yes.
glide path?
Yes.
Something like that? Okay.
Yes. We'll give you some other information, like it's looking good. Again, you get so many toward the end, plus we'll know how many we have been talking to, who's shown interest, who's applied, who's not. It tells me who I need to call and say, hey, don't forget, you got to have this in. Get your letters of recommendation done. Those are always fun conversations for sitting superintendents to have with their board, is to let them know that they're looking someplace else. So, talking about fracturing a relationship, we don't want to do that. Post-application deadline, that's when you will get a cover letter from each of them. You will get the resume from them and the narratives and the disclosures. So the social media, all those pieces will come to you, and that's what will come to you. It closes November the 30th. Remember, this will come to you on the goal is to get it to you on Friday, December the 5th, so we can talk about it on the Monday. I just need you to have some time to go through that. And then closed session, so reference materials, social media reports, state licensure check, and I will work with your HR department because part of that is your responsibility to do some of the background check too. That is the district's responsibility. So that will be a teamwork type item on that as we're doing that. We want to keep that information coming to you. I will work with your communication. If you have any optional videos or infographics, Linda Quinley, Mr. Porter, you'd be so glad to know she'd like us to do a joint. So you can tell a little bit about the district, and I will tell a little bit about the search and put that out there so that they can know. So if you're okay with that, we will try to figure that. We've already got a script. And so I'd like to get that out. We just want to promote as much as we possibly can. And so let's get the good news about Green Valley out there. On the screening candidates, just so a review of what we talked about earlier, so the initial interviews, it'll be 4 to 7. We will be doing those on Zoom. And then the formal interviews, I really recommend 3 candidates. That you just need some choice to see what you're doing there as you're doing that one. And again, the interview questions, we'll put those together for you based on your survey results and your feedback. And then we'll make sure that they are serious about accepting the job. The last thing I want to do is bring you someone that says, no, never mind, I've changed my mind. That does happen sometimes. What I don't want them to do is make sure they're using you in order to get them more of where they are. I don't want you to be a bargaining chip. I want them to truly be interested and want to come to Green Valley. So that's important for me.
So
Yes, sir?
how often in your career of doing this have boards interviewed these 3 candidates
Mhm.
and said, we're not going to hire any of them? I'm just asking
None
the
of that.
question.
So the good news is 0 on that one. What has happened is the candidate has backed out. And so I think that's kind of the yin and yang you're working on right here. But no, we have not had that.
Okay.
Thanks for asking. My straight looks like going, oh, that's not good. Please remember that one of the things that you will be provided is actually this list. So once you get the summary, we're going to actually tier them for you. And so at that Monday meeting on December the 8th, we're going to be talking about why did we put these in the green tier? And so they have experience. Obviously, they have that. They have positive recommendations for you. They meet the experience requirements, the licenses. And so those are your good candidates. On the yellow, they're certified. Maybe they haven't been a superintendent yet. But that's not a disqualifier. It's certainly not a disqualifier. There's maybe some things there that they haven't had their license yet. They're still working on it. We just want you to be totally aware of everything that's going on. On the not qualified, probably don't have their license. There may be some things that have shown up as red flags, such as they change jobs every year. Probably not who you're looking for. But we're going to give them to you and let you guys decide if that's someone you want to move forward or not. So you will see every applicant. You will get a summary on every one of them, and then you'll also see them tiered in this process.
So you just said we'll see every applicant.
You will see
green, yellow, red.
absolutely every applicant. You will get them all.
Do you what is like the most we could expect? Do you think?
You know, you are at a good time, I think. I think you're hiring at a very good time to get the message out. So anywhere from 12 to 30, honestly, it's just going to kind of depend. There are other job openings around you right now too. So that's going to impact it too. And the good news is sometimes if they don't get that one, they've always applied at multiple. Being in the Kansas City region, it's a draw. People want to live here.
Well, luckily for us, the other ones that are open are not as good as ours.
Exactly. I wasn't going to say that out loud, but thank you. I want to keep those other districts happy too. But that's exactly what we're looking at. But I think that's the key. So we will see. Yes, sir. On the candidate
And
summaries.
the
yep,
tiering, you guys will do that.
we will do the tiering for
and
you.
just send them out green, yellow, red.
You will get that on that Monday, the 8th. Yep, you'll get all that. So you have at least a starting point. So if I see the green, I'm going to read. You'll get it on the 5th, so you'll have a chance over that weekend to look at those and see why we tiered them, and then we can have that discussion. And those are pretty intense discussions. They're a lot of fun. This is a kind of a review of what a summary would look like, but you'll get their name, you'll get their current position, you'll also get their current salary. That's big information of what's going on. A little bit about their summary and then some of their references. And then on the bottom is just for us. Do we move them forward? Do we need more information? That's just for us to work on.
On current salary, is that something that you guys can find out, or is that what they're reporting?
That's what they're reporting. We'll also
Again,
look
because
into it.
you can only look at the previous year's data.
Correct. Yes. Yes, that's why you want them to report. Plus, it tells you if they're in your salary range or not, and where they're going to be and what they may want. So it's a really an important piece of information. Contract language, we've looked through that and we've talked about what's in your current compensation package. I don't see any changes that need to be done, but I would say if there's any contractual issues you've had recently, any changes that you've had, this is just a great opportunity for you guys to look through those contracts. If you have not seen a 2-year contract, I'm sure we can get you a 2-year contract. You need to read through it, but it's a great time to work with your legal counsel. I am not legal counsel, so you need to work with your legal counsel on your contracts.
Just so everybody's aware, she already has the contract and is reviewing it just to make sure it's up to date and with
Yep.
current changes she's asked other districts to make.
And we've had
So-
that conversation.
Not yet.
And that will be fine, but if there is feedback or changes that we need to know to make sure that the candidates know, then we'll have that conversation.
She was very happy to have it last week and
I-
not on December 3rd or 19th.
Which is what I've seen happen, where they wait till the last minute and say, I want to change this. And it's like, well, yeah, let's don't do that if we don't have to. So I appreciate that.
Will we have an opportunity to look at that contract as soon as she's done?
Yeah,
Okay.
can't be changed until we agree to change it.
Yeah,
so.
right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So to that point, what you were just talking about,
Mhm.
like with benefits and things like that,
Mhm.
I mean, with the superintendent position, those are flexible. I don't know what the flexibility is on, like, if we wanted to offer family
Mhm.
insurance, things like that for the superintendent only. I mean, these are things that we can do if we chose to as a board.
Correct. Those are all things you could do. You can offer some type of annuity plan. You can offer 403Bs, 457Fs. You can do any of those type of things. That would all go in the contract. Right.
And that stuff doesn't have to be decided tonight, that it can be,
Correct.
at a
But if it's
later-
something you're going to add, then let's let the applicants know that.
right?
That would
Again,
be
it's
important to
just-
know. That's why it was important. We had a really great conversation about this, and so I'm really am thrilled that you're reaching out early.
So.
It's a chance to do that one.
Yeah, it's more money, but yeah.
Nothing money can't fix. Outgoing leaders role. Mr. Porter and I talked about this quite a bit. Recruiting candidates. I don't know of a better spokesman for this district than Dr. Welly. He believes in Green Valley, and I know him well enough, I know his heart. He wants somebody really good to come here, so I trust him on that one. Reviewing candidates? Maybe. We'll see. Answer questions? Yes. There will be candidates, they're going to call him. That's going to happen, and they're going to ask about the board. They're going to ask about the district. They're going to ask about upcoming possible bonds or changes or what are some of the challenges. So he's going to field some of those questions. During the formal interviews time, always like it if the sitting superintendent is able to just give a tour of the district. That's a great piece to add, and it's always good to have that tour because there's things that he knows about the district that the incoming person and the candidate should know. And this would just be with your finalist. Sit in the board meetings? No, no, not on those. This is a board decision. So just want to make sure we're clear on all that. And who is talking to the superintendent about their role in the hiring process? He and I have talked. I know that Mr. Porter's had a conversation with him too. I just want to be transparent with everybody about how that's going to be handled. This is what a draft, again, this was one that was done during the day, but this would be if you had 3 final people, would be the example. They would, so if you started at, what did we say, 4 o'clock, we'd have the first one come in at 3 o'clock and meet with the superintendent, have that conversation. The board would interview them, and then they would go on a district tour, and we can change this up. There's all different ways to do this, but this just gives you an idea of how this steps down in order to include all those things. So one of the questions I have for you is on the interview process. So all the names will be confidential. At the end, you have a choice. Do you want to do it a total closed search where none of the names are released until you announce the superintendent, which is the choice of some boards? Other boards have chosen a more modified view of that, where they keep it closed until they have identified their 3 finalists, and then they do list the name for their finalist and release that to the public. Another twist on that I've seen done, which I kind of like, is that they have the 3 finalists actually prepare a short 1 minute to 1.5 minute video, if they're the finalist, of why they want to come to Green Valley. And we work with your communication, and we provide that to the community 24 hours before the interviews. So you have choices there. So you can keep it closed all the way through. I think when you get to the finalist, they have to let their boards know and their communities know. If you keep it closed, they don't. They have to tell them, but it's not public information. There's, again, a couple of options here for you.
So from a candidate pool
Mm-hmm.
perspective, I mean,
Been there?
a sitting superintendent
Mm-hmm.
or maybe even a sitting assistant superintendent
Sure.
or whatever level
Yes.
might not be comfortable knowing that when they get to a finalist position, it's going to be out there and they still might not get that job, but now they've told their whole community that I'm looking somewhere else. So that's just something to think
That's
about.
that side of it. The other side of it, if your community is saying,
Who are they?
who are they?
Yeah,
reason
I'm
we
just
say
I'm just
24
looking
hours?
at both sides of it, just making sure they're both, because I lean towards either 1 or 3. Like either we keep it all closed so we have a better candidate pool and everybody feels comfortable, or we open it up at the 3 and they tell their story.
My personal opinion is that it should stay closed throughout the entire process. And then we have an aggressive process, communication plan, I guess, for rolling out the new person so the community gets to know them. We're getting community input.
Mhm.
Ultimately, it's up to us to make the decision. And then I think after we do, we really aggressively roll that person out.
And
My-
you,
just
you
my
are,
opinion.
and you are legally required to, once you take that final vote on the contract, which would have to be up, you'll make those, and so you've got 72 hours legally. Other thoughts?
that's a hard sell.
Is this something we have to decide tonight?
I think you probably
yeah.
need to, yes. I
So-
think you need to decide that tonight,
In,
yes.
in the times past when others have had a more open
Mhm.
dialogue with your district,
Mhm.
with those candidates, how did they feel about it? Like, how did it go in terms of those individuals getting to a finalist level and having their name broadcast?
We were very upfront with them at the beginning and said, this is what will happen at the end, so that they knew even before they applied. So as they apply, I usually reach out to every new applicant that comes on and just say, let me give you a little more information about this. Here's some of the expectations. I just want to know, I want to be upfront with them and say, this would be the expectation or not. For some, I can't risk that, and some can.
I guess what I'm getting at is, did it whittle down the pool anymore by that happening?
Yes.
Okay.
I think the other issue for me is I'm going to get a lot of information about these candidates that I'm going to use to make that decision. A patron may get a 30-second video, and then they're calling me saying, you need to hire this person, and they have a fraction of what I have. And now they're going to come to me, excuse me, and say, why didn't you listen to me? So they have elected me to make that decision. I think I should make it.
Well, in today's world, it's, I call them the keyboard warriors. That's why the other district just did 24 hours to limit it as much as they could. And everybody knows somebody. I got a brother, sister, son-in-law, everything. So I respect that, and I think your candidates would respect that.
Closed.
Closed, closed.
All closed, all the
All
way
closed.
through until the end. No, we will only announce
Announce.
after we've made our decision.
Only your final choice. Okay?
I do have a question with the district tour.
Uh-huh.
I know that meeting with the superintendent, current superintendent, and then the district, who typically does the district tour?
Actually, on this one, we would actually flip if we wanted to do it. Since we're keeping it closed, I would probably just, the meet with the superintendent can happen the same time as the district tour, because they can talk as they're driving, and it would actually save time in the day. And since we're kind of on a compressed evening schedule anyway, that would be my recommendation.
Okay, so that's not something that the board would be involved in?
No,
No.
not on the district tour.
Right.
No. You'll be busy interviewing somebody. And we can start with one interview at 4 o'clock, and then the next one can come in at 5:15 and be more efficient with your time. And hopefully there's still enough daylight that they can see part of the district. The candidates that I know usually visit your community multiple times.
We
The
have
ones that
great
are really
lighting,
serious.
though.
We have great lighting.
Yeah, Dr. Gooch has informed me we have some great lighting in some new areas. I remember.
Are you sure you're not going to be here for all of this? So here's what we're talking about. So we confirmed the hiring dates of what we're looking at, so we're good there. I will work with Cammie here, and we'll get the rooms reserved for April, sorry. I've already updated the current, we're going to deploy this survey. We're going to develop all the reports for you, post the job, get that done, open the application portal. That'll happen on Friday. That will be our goal. Your homework is, once we get that set, would be to share and promote that survey. And so we'll try to get that going. Again, I'm going to work with your communications people so they can really push that out. We've already considered the formal interview schedule, so we know what that's going to be, so we can check that box. And the last one is just keep the news positive. It really is an important piece. They are going to want to see how do you interact? How do you treat your superintendents? How does your superintendent interact with your board? What does that look like? So this is just an important piece that you all have that's out there. So I think I've answered about 15,000 questions, but I think there's always one more. So what can I help for you with? What did we not cover? Yeah, the finalist, yes. No. Absolutely. Yeah, April and I think she does a good job of feeding you guys, so she has practice, and she needs to practice more. I think April can take care of that for you. Yeah, And that's very nice. And by the way, you probably need to feed these guys so they don't get cranky, so we'll do that too. Is there anything else that I can answer for you guys right now? Good.
Any other questions?
So I hope you see the entire process. It is a very in-depth process. And so I'm excited to get started. Let's get you guys
I
the first
guess-
ones out of the book.
So I do have a question.
Sure.
And you're not gonna, there's no easy answer, and I don't want to be here all night, but will we have some sort of less subjective way to grade
Mhm.
these candidates?
Yeah,
So
we're
are we
gonna try-
be asking the exact same questions to everyone, or similar questions?
They will
et
get the
cetera, et
exact
cetera?
same questions. So on
Okay.
the screenings, the questions will come from me, and they'll be the exact same questions while you guys are scoring. We'll give you a scoring guide.
Okay.
We'll actually look at how you score them, set up what's your median score, what's our outliers, what do we need to do with that? And then frankly, during the formal interviews, I will ask you guys to round robin the questions. So we will provide the questions to you because I want you to see the interaction they have with you personally. Do they look you in the eye with the answer? And just what is that? It's all those little cue things that you're looking for, but the board itself will do that, and then we'll score at the end of each one of those. And then we'll tally that up for you, and then have that information to make your conversations at the end, hopefully a little more efficient.
So that's the quantitative piece and how we get, how do we get to know them in an hour?
I think you get to know them by your research that you're going to be doing, what you're going to be seeing. I think by having them that early, you're going to be looking them up to see what they're saying. Is there a perfect answer on that one? No, and I sure wish there was. Qualitative is a lot better than quantitative. I mean, quantitative is a lot easier than qualitative.
So one of the questions was with the questions that we're going to ask the candidates, or that you'll ask.
We
the
will give you
candidates.
guys a pool of those, and actually at either the screening, when we finish that, we will actually say, here's the questions we recommend. What would you like us to include or take out? Or do you have a different question you'd like to ask? Because every district is different about what they want, and we want to honor that. So, but you need a starting place of what you're going to have. I think the only other question I would have around that would be, do you want the final candidates to provide you something like a 90-day entry plan? Anything like that, I would want to be able to tell candidates ahead of time. I recommend it because then it's something that you can have. Again, tells you how are they going to engage with your community, how they're going to engage with your staff, and how do they view that interaction in those first 90 days. So if that's something you would like to you can talk about it, let Jeff know, he can tell me, and we'll let candidates know that that would be an expectation of the finalist. It would only be expected of the finalist.
And once we get to the finalists, the 2 to 3 candidates, the questioning for that piece also,
We'll provide a pool of questions for you. We'll
Okay.
go through those, and we can identify which ones you want.
and again, we make sure that each candidate gets the same questions.
Everyone gets the exact same questions. We do not include their pictures on their applications because I want you to look at their applications.
Okay.
It's those type of things. I want this to be the most ethical and the most highly integrated, with the highest integrity that we can possibly do.
So you include names?
Absolutely. You do
Okay.
get names. And you're going to go Google them as soon as I give them to you. I know that too. I'm not a fool. But that's okay.
All right.
So let's
And
hire a superintendent, shall we?
Any other questions?
You're welcome. And again, I want to thank Mr. Porter for his time. We spent a couple of hours. And also Dr. Welly. He's been invaluable. So I just want a shout out to him. He's been great. So thank you guys for your time.
Very good. Thank you.
You bet.
All right. I would look for a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Thank you.